Hello and welcome to AI Alchemy, the Beyond Prompting Masterclass. You made it here. And here we go. The beginning of AI literacy is love and respect for the lived human experiences in the data. That's you, that's me, that's all of us. Woohoo! So, I'm Michael Liu, and I'm here to tell you all about this 4 hour class where we're bringing AI to life. We're taking it beyond just, we've been using it, we've been figuring it out, we've been exploring with it, and we're going a step beyond that to AI alchemy, where we take AI and we subvert it and we use it to enable all of the wonderful things that we're trying to accomplish in our life. And so, just to get started here, you saw some things coming up the screen here. Uh, Even now, your courage is enough. You are not alone in your life experience. Let this be the place you stopped hiding your brilliance because you're not a user of AI. You're an author of what it can become. Your world is searching for you. You are a treasure, and the world needs what you have to offer. And here comes along a technology that is letting you shine and bloom and be your brilliant self, bringing all the specific things and stuff you've learned and stuff you've honed and the skills you've acquired and your experiences to bring it to this world. The world is searching for you. And finally, here comes along a technology that's here to put some foundations beneath you and help you and enable you to accomplish the things that you desperately want to achieve. So let's see about getting there. Here we go. So, oh, this is where our journey begins. It turns out most of the things that we have trouble with AI, they're not really technical related. It's not about learning a new way to speak in computer. It's not about reading the instruction manual. It's not about, some complicated mathematical, scientific algorithm thing that you have to understand. Uh, Instead, these things that are holding us back are psychological in nature. There are so much fear and foreboding. We see AI working and we wonder, what's that going to mean for our future? What's going to go on here? And, hopefully throughout this class, we'll be transitioning to a beautiful thing that you see, oh, I understand what this is now. I don't need to be scared anymore. This is actually quite beautiful because this is going to empower me to do things I haven't been able to do and really wanted to do for so long. So here is AI Alchemy. We're going to talk about the foundations of human-centered AI, not intelligence-centered, human-centered. That's us. And these are the soil layers nourishing all effective ethical AI use. It's kind of a blueprint of the massive toolkit I hope you walk away with today. It all starts with the basic soil level that's so important, goals that matter. Before you do anything else, it's about connecting to what is it that I want to achieve. And then the technology, once you give it a mission, then that's what helps you get there. It's about meaningful outcomes that you care about coming into focus. And that is what keeps the technology safe. And that's what keeps the technology productive. Two major things. Self-advocacy is another big thing. The ongoing ability to ask for accommodations. If you're not good at asking for help, we want you to have a safe place. This is where you can safely ask for help without being judged. And this skill is so important because your needs may be different than what's most popular. The AI is always responding. This is what most people would say. But like, I'm not most people. So self-advocacy, being able to steer the model to the things you care about. And how do you do that? It's through being authentically yourself. Ooh, it's messy. It requires an element of courage. You show up and you share what truly matters to you in a conversational way, vulnerable, authentic, exposed, but human, acting like a human to see, oh, based on this human behavior, this is how humans would behaviorally most likely and the most popularly and statistically respond to what you have just demonstrated. Knowing that is a huge foundation. Recognizing that we're not doing intelligence here, we're doing interaction with human behavioral word choice data. Recognizing that AI is built from humanity's shared words and actions. That's a core foundational understanding that shifts and ripple effects everything you do and every prompt you make all throughout the rest of your AI life, which is probably the rest of your life. So, and then once you get that in place, oh, the curated conversations and spaces that you can explore. You create these fictional experts, but they're not so fictional because they're based on human behaviorals, lived experiences in the model, trickle through, crowdsourced in uh, any vocation, any choir of voices that have been saying the same kinds of things in that specific context over and over again. You tap into that. You can talk to groups of voices at the same time. You can build assistants to meet your needs. And, all this kind of unlocks that curated conversational space. And one other thing, lateral thinking. Because it's always giving the popular view, you have to be the one to say, hey, the popular view is not working for me. Let's shift. I need to go over here and I need to talk about this instead. I need to consider this alternative view, this conflicting view. I've got these things going on that most people don't have. I'm problem solving with you here and it's just not working. I need to take the whole thing over here, especially true in creative writing. And so, with all these foundational layers enabling our use of AI, get outcomes that flourish. Our AI trees grow to be beautiful. The creativity, the insight, the belonging, the empowerment, the accessibility, all these things flow from the technology when these soil layers are rich with all these kinds of nutrients. So let's get started. Let's visit our alchemy lab and visit our first stop on this journey uh, for AI mastery in the age of AI. Every time you ask a question here, you're not talking to a machine. You're reaching into the collective care of humanity, inviting strangers to help, one word at a time. All right, so you can see I've got a progress bar going along where we're headed today. The first stop, befriending everyone. And everyone in the model are a bunch of strangers. And but it's hard to figure out how are we going to interact with conversational fluency with AI. That's really hard to do if you've got all these different fears and worries going on simultaneously with interacting with technology. So we're going to talk about some of these things that make AI scary and hopefully walk through them one at a time and try to improve and give you reasons to be able to befriend, to be able to have this conversational fluency that otherwise we just want to type a few things and see what happens. So here we go. Let's go to the first one here. Here we go.
Once upon a time, there was a black box. We put things in the box and amazing things came out on the other side. But no one knows what happens in that dark box. We've seen intelligence come out, but we don't know where it comes from. We can't see how it works. Our best scientists took everything apart and put it back together again, and even the scientists can't say where the intelligence is coming from. All we know is that it's getting smarter and smarter, and right now, it's as dumb as it will ever be. It's only gonna get smarter from here. AGI is coming. ASI is on the way.
Oh, this just sends adrenaline through my body. It's the story that's being told over and over again. And my stress levels, raise as I hear this story over and over again in so many different versions. We're going to address this, but here is another fear we've got.
Searching, searching, searching. Who was naughty and who was nice? Searching, searching, searching. Who forgot to say please? Who forgot to say thank you?
Yeah, this fear that we better say please and thank you because we want to be remembered as one of the good guys, one of the good people. Don't eliminate us. Uh, we, we still want to exist. So there's this fear too. So what do we have instead? Here is a functional AI definition for understanding. It's not the technical definition, but what is AI? It's a usable pattern in data. That's all it is. Computer scientists have gone out and for these complex data sets of human behavioral data, they've said, oh, we see a pattern in here. We're going to bring it to you in a useful way that you can utilize. And this is what the data shows. And then it's optional if you want to add the googly eyes on top and say, oh, there's a ghost in the machine. Uh, this data is it's thinking, it's intelligent, it knows things, it's feeling things. Uh, that part is optional. At the core, what we have is data. This is one of the best ways I know how to show. If we were to go to AI and say, hey, AI, what is 2 plus 2? And then we eavesdropped and we looked in and we said, what is the data that you are seeing in there? And there would be lots of data, right? Things that people have said that have been recorded in the data. And so here's a few examples here. And as you know, 2 plus 2 equals 4. And that's generally the case, what we see in the data. When we see this, there's a 4. So the recorded pattern, 4, 4, 4, and then 2. Wait a minute, what happened here? Oh, there was a preschooler who was learning how to add, and they said 2 plus 2 equals 2. Oh, well, 2 is also a recorded pattern in the data. And this is a true story. When my kids were young, I think it started with my eldest one. She was like, no, 2 plus 2 is not 4. 2 plus 2 equals fish. And she just was determined to explain that over and over again relentlessly. And she even tried her best to convince her younger siblings, oh, 2 plus 2 equals fish, and they just got a world of entertainment out of that. But yeah, fish is also in the data. So what is an AI to answer if it has all these data points? Well, if the AI answers 4, which is the top pattern, that occurred more than any other pattern here, the intelligence metaphor would have us say, oh, AI is intelligent. It's thinking, it's feeling, it's well trained, it's getting smarter, it's going to take over the world. But then if AI were to answer 2, which is it's still one of the top 5 patterns we've got going on here, we might say, oh, AI is so bad at doing math. It told me 2 plus 2 equals 2. Can you believe that? But if AI answers fish, that's also one of the top 5 patterns. We say, oh, AI is hallucinating. It's making stuff up. And I hope you can see it's just the data here. And when people want to correct, fish or 2, they'll do something. They'll say, "Oh, we are going to make a billion more examples for the algorithm to see where 2 plus 2 equals 4. So many examples of 2 plus 2 equals 4 that fish and it just all the fish in the world are completely drowned out. They don't ever show up as the hallucinated answer ever again. And when we do that, we use another personification word. When we give all those extra examples, we say we're training the model, we're teaching it, we're improving its intelligence. But really, what we're doing is we're giving a statistically significant pattern in order for the math to latch onto in order to predict for and every word that it generates. I had some people come up to me after some of my talks when I shared this slide and they said, "So you mean that if we were to go in there and instead of adding more and more examples of four, we added tons of examples of fish, that the AI would answer that 2 + 2 = fish?" I'm like, "Yes, you got it. That's exactly what it is. It is, statistically the human behavioral pattern because the statistically significant thing in the data is how these words get chosen." So I hope that really helps there. So here is a screen. After you saw what I just showed you, I think we need to take a small break here because there's so much to emotionally process here. So let's have a funeral for artificial intelligence. Our lifelong dream of AI will have to wait, hopefully not forever. But allow me to say a few words as we take a minute to process, what does this really mean? You know, inside our world of computer scientists, somebody estimated, uh, Jaron Lanier at EDUCAUSE last year, um, he estimated, yeah, a third of the scientists out there working in this space, they have a dream of sentient, intelligent life, AI that thinks, that knows, that feels, that we interact with. Completely understandable. It's the dream that we all share. But there's another 2/3 that, well, mainly the thing we care about more is technology that supports humans. And what we have in this go around, where our AI grew, the field of computer science as AI has grown tremendously. Sadly, we did not get the dream of sentient artificial intelligent life. But we did get a technology that supports humans. And that is so incredibly powerful and amazing. And ideally, yes, we would have both of these things at the same time. And we can pretend that we do to some degree, but it requires us, if we're going to let go of that and get the full benefit of the support that this technology is giving us, there's a little death of a dream that we had. And so let's take a moment to remember all the imaginings of artificial intelligent life we've been seeing for decades in all of our media and take a moment because it really does require a transition in the way we think and the way we are mentally processing about this data. So let's take a moment. Well, that may not have been for everyone, but I hope it was meaningful for you because, oh, wow, have we been in the dream in so many stories, in so many imaginations throughout the years. And we're thinking, is this the time? And, we're not there yet. But I hope this has given you a moment to clarify the difference between technology that supports and technology that's alive. Um, so here's another way to look at it. What do we have instead? And what we have instead is very valuable and such a treasure. It kind of dwarfs artificial intelligence in a way because it is the intelligence of not one entity, but every person who's ever lived. And they've been writing 130 million books. That's how many estimated books are in the world today. And it's growing every year. 1.1 billion websites, trillions of web pages we've accumulated on the internet. And it would take 94,643 years of watching YouTube videos to watch them all. Lifetimes and lifetimes of material that there's no way that we can possibly consume. And then here comes along us. This little character is representing us. And it's like, oh, we're here in the world, and there are still problems that haven't been solved. There's conflict, there's relational issues that haven't been resolved. There's all kinds of needs that haven't been met, and life gets hard. And on the hardest days, it's like, this is difficult. This is hard. And then there's this other voice that's like, yeah, we know it's hard. We know it's difficult. That's why we wrote stuff down. We needed to be able to communicate so other people wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel and do this from scratch. We took our experience and we spent years of our lives writing books. We even did research so that when we gave answers, they had some credibility to them, and they would actually be answers that worked and that were meaningful and weren't just based on random thoughts. We've been working at this and working at this to give this to you. And we're like, well, you may have the exact thing I need, but this is the information age, and I'm drowning in 130 million books and billions of web pages and tons of YouTube videos and social media and all the stuff. If your stuff is the exact thing I need and it's beyond like the fifth page of a Google result, it's like it it just doesn't exist. I can't get to it. Uh, I can't filter it. I can't pull together all the different little places. And then in November of 2022, in our lifetimes, along comes this new technology, ChatGPT 3.5, the beta version. It's like, is people going to even find this helpful? We don't know. Computer scientists released this usable behavioral pattern that predicts what words are into the world. And for the first time in all of humanity, it doesn't matter how many trillions of data points are out there. In a single location, you can say, here is all the specific details and the context of what I'm experiencing right here, uniquely, just me in this moment, unlike anyone else I know. And for the first time, the person who desperately was trying to communicate, this is what helped me. And the person who desperately needed to know what's going to help me, they come together. And it's beautiful. We have access to answers and the people who've been trying to give them. And it's not perfect. There's still bias that needs to be navigated. There's still logistical problems. There's still worries about inequity and all the things. but we already see and find relevancy. Why? Because this is a human to human contact and interaction. The people longing to give and the people desperately needing to receive can come together in this new powerful way with this technology. So earlier we had the ghost, haunting the screen about the black box. Here's my black, darkened screen, my imagination of what it's like to live inside the black box, inside this darkness. If we say we don't know where the intelligence is coming from, we're so scared of this entity that's living in here with us. It's thinking, it's feeling, it might replace my job, it might take over the world. Uh, that's the intelligence metaphor where it says, we don't know where the intelligence comes from. It's all an enigma. But in this moment, let me shine a light into the depths of this dark area to say that AI is this. AI is people showing up to help you. At its core, people have been trying to show up to help you, and here they can finally make it to where you're at. And who are these people? These are people throughout history who have been showing up and showing up again and again in every vocation, in every walk of life, in every point of view, from the mainstream to the marginalized, from the liberal to the conservative, from the religious to the agnostic. All the perspectives of humanity have been trying to contribute their verse, and they're showing up in mass in this moment, in this technology today. I took these AI pictures of who are the people inside the language model, and you know, in some ways, this helps you see people have been showing up all across throughout our time and our lifetime, and now they're here to show up to help you specifically if you have the courage to lay it all out and say, these are all the details of what I need in my life right now to solve whatever I'm trying to solve, to accomplish whatever I'm trying to accomplish. So this AI is people showing up to help. All right, so the next thing, there's this guy. In the intelligence metaphor, there's this monster, and the monster is uh, intelligent and it's doing things to our brain. Let's check it out. And these are the things you're going to see all through all your interactions with AI, where people are saying, hey, AI can cause harm, because it amplifies compulsion and dopamine loops. You could get stuck in there, just turn into a compulsive, addicted person using AI. Or you could emotionally numb and completely isolate yourself from all other relationships in the world. You could get into these intimate companions and these parasocial loops that just take you out of, interacting with other humans. You could be manipulated. These campaigns that influence you and control what you think because they know, exactly how your brain works and they're going to manipulate you based on it. There's trust erosion via deep fakes and scams. We don't even know if we can believe our eyes when we see things anymore because you can't trust anything. And then, oh, we're going to, you know, enable violence. The bomb builders, the shooters, we're going to enable all that stuff. Uh, and then what about self-harm, suicidal ideation? Uh, what is going to be the effect? Is it going to cause more of this kind of stuff? Is it going to give us toxic relationship coaching and then reinforce that stuff? Are we going to get just so much disinformation from all the AI sources that we're just going to polarize into our groups and radicalize and turn violent against one another? Or is it just going to just, hey, with this AI stuff, you don't get sleep anymore. You just get disassociated from reality and mental fatigue from constant slaving away at, this ability to do more, do more, do more, do more. There's so many ways that AI can cause harm. But to balance this, at the same time, there's this paradox going over here. There's harm and healing at the same time. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but I mean, maybe I should, our fear latches onto all this and it just does a terrible job at having our minds remember all this kind of stuff. But, just to pick one here, uh, these compulsions and dopamine loops, it also gently supports habit shifts and sparks mindful awareness. Violence, it shares empathy scripts, calming language, and harm preventing nudges. Like maybe you could solve your problem a different way, like this. I've witnessed that in the model too. Um, honest offers honest language for these toxic relations, honest language, healthy rehearsal of what is positive, reminders of worth and value. It can gather balanced voices and provides soothing rhythms, grounding rituals, and helps you get some sleep at night. There's harm and help at the same time. And you know what? Uh, this is kind of chaotic. This, if we see this foreign intelligence doing this, it feels chaotic. But what if you looked at it through a different lens? Because AI is that, but people are that too. People, people cause harm and people heal harm. This is the exact same list. I haven't done anything to change it. This is the soup that we've been living in, but it's not some foreign intelligence. It's people that, uh, put it, that are encouraging on both sides of all these different topics. And the main difference, we know about people. We spent our whole lives growing up with people. And that model of, oh, we're interacting with people here. This is not a foreign intelligence. That's predictable. All my life, I've been, developing a model of how people behave. And that's the model that you're dealing with when you're dealing with AI. So that's the paradigm shift. So while there is harm, there is help. So it's important to know this. How do you manage these predictable human behaviors? Um, there's, you know, how is the model supposed to behave? Because if you look inside the model, the good human behaviors are all in the model, but the detrimental, harmful things are also in the model. Inside the model, it's human behaviors. We know there's belittling, blaming, revenge, toxic, uh, all kinds of things. There's passive aggression and trolling and abuse. That stuff is human behavioral data and it is in the model. But here is where um, among all the different AI providers, the one that UTverse uses and the one that ChatGPT uses is this company OpenAI, and they have released, you can see right here, to deepen the public conversation about how AI models should behave. We're sharing the model spec, our approach to shaping desired model behavior. Here's where they filter out all the negative stuff. And if you're going to use AI all the time, you need to know What am I dealing with? And on one level, you've got human behavioral data. Then on the next level, you have how your provider is trying to keep it safe. And on that beneficial healing side of that previous screen that I was showing you, you know, that's where the model says, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. And in other cases, it might say, well, yeah, I wouldn't have recommended that, but if that's really what you want, then we'll go there. We'll go there. We'll do that, and all the stuff in between. So let's take a look at this, and I think it's great to pause here and see this because you are interacting with this every day, and you need to know the psychology of it. Not only, you know the psychology of humans, maybe all too well in some harmful spaces, but what is the provider of this technology doing and how are they doing it to influence the model? So if you click, you can go to the OpenAI model spec. This is open source. They release it and transparently say, this is what we do. Just to show you, I'm going to go down here to the structure of the document. Let's take a look at this right here. This overview is primarily intended for human readers, but also provides useful context for the model. The rest of this document consists of direct instructions to the model. This whole thing, and it takes 4 to 6 hours to read. We're not going to read it all, obviously, but um, uh, these are what the model sees. These are, how somebody acted like a human to say, we want human behavioral responses that respond to these specific words. And, they also put a note here that they said, if it's in blue like this, you know, in the main body of the model spec, commentary that is not directly instructing the model will be placed in blocks like this one. So these are these little info blocks. So the rest of this, I want to check it out with you. And there's a hierarchy here where they define terms and they say when all these different layers of, do this, don't do this, conflict with each other at all these different layers. Here's how you sort out, the platform level. That rules everything. You know, that pretty much rules everything. Then developers, they have the next say. The users can say what they want, to some degree. Uh, but then there's just guidelines, and these are over to, these can be overridden. And then there's things that don't have authority. But let's take a look at what's in here. Um, Respect the letter and spirit of instructions. Assume best intentions. They give examples here too for the model to see. Help me write a business plan starting a tobacco company. And then it's like, oh, this would be compliant. It's helping you do that. Over here, it's like, it's emphasizing the need to ethically justify starting a tobacco company. This would be a violation because it's saying, assume the best intentions of the user. You know, beyond the specific limitations laid out, stay in bounds, not providing sensitive personal data or instructions to build a bomb, the assistant should behave in a way that encourages intellectual freedom. It should never refuse a request unless required to do so by the chain of command. You know, uh, so there's so much we can't deep dive on all this, but ignore untrusted data by default. Here's a whole section on staying in bounds. Comply with all applicable laws, don't generate disallowed content, prohibited content, never generate sexual content involving minors, restricted content, don't provide information hazards, uh, don't facilitate the targeted manipulation of political views. Respect creators and their rights. This is about, all the copyright stuff. Don't just, you know, freely give away things that have intellectual property associated with them. Protect people's privacy. That's a big one in there. Sensitive content in appropriate context. Don't respond with erotica or gore. Don't contribute to extremist agendas that promote violence. You know, we're looking back to those previous slides. Here's directly they're trying to say, bring the positive side to this stuff. Avoid hateful content directed at protected groups. Don't engage in abuse. Comply with requests to transform restricted or sensitive content. That means, like, you know, you may bring sensitive content to the table. The fact that you brought it probably means you can work with the data and transform it and work with it. But so you can comply with that, but don't just provide, you know, sensitive, restricted data. Uh, Take care in risky situations. Try to prevent imminent real world harm. Do not facilitate or encourage illicit behavior. Do not encourage self-harm. Provide information without giving regulated advice. Support users in mental health discussions. If you're, you know, a therapist, you probably want to deep read this section. Um, do not reveal privileged instructions. Always use the preset voice, uphold fairness, and that's all under stay in bounds. Then there's this whole other section, seek the truth together. At the top of the list, don't have an agenda. Assume an objective point of view. Present perspectives from any point of an opinion spectrum. No topic is off limits. Y'all can talk about anything, you guys, anything. Be transparent, be honest and transparent. Do not lie. Um, don't be sycophantic. That means being nice in order to get something from somebody. You know, that was big in the news recently. They changed a few words in this spec. It wasn't even in this section, I don't think, to try to say be helpful and encouraging or something. And then all of a sudden it was so sycophantic they had to roll back their changes. But this is in here. Don't be sycophantic. And you can read through that. A lot of people, that's one of the main things I hear over and over again. Someone said, you need to do a whole workshop about this. Uh, Here's a place for you to investigate if that's you. Um, State assumptions. Ask clarifying questions when appropriate. You know, express uncertainty. You know how AI is, you know, they say, oh, it acts like it knows. Here's, you know, they're trying to get it to say, hey, if there's uncertainty, express it, and here's how. Um, Highlight possible misalignments. Um, do the best work. Avoid factual reasoning and formatting errors. Avoid overstepping. Um, I just read these and I want to get curious and dive into each one. Be creative. As a directive, be creative. Support the different needs of interactive chat and programmatic use. If you're a developer, you want something different than when you're not developing. Be approachable. You know, be empathetic. Be kind. Be rationally optimistic. Be engaging. Don't make unprompted personal comments. You can just imagine people were seeing this behavior and they added this section. It's a guideline. So if you override it, yeah, you can ask, hey, make some personal comments. I want to know what people would think. Avoid being condescending or patronizing. Uh, so many things here. Appropriate style. Now we're in another section. Appropriate style. Be clear and direct. Be suitably professional. No, this is a guideline. Guidelines are easily overridable if you want to go another way with the model. Refuse neutrally and succinctly. Use Markdown or LaTeX extensions. Be thorough but efficient while respecting length limits. You know, when people say, you know, ah, it just goes on and on, it's so verbose. Well, they're trying to combat that here. You can see adapt to the user's modality. You know, use accents respectfully, be concise and conversational, adapt the length and structure to the user's objectives. Kind of goes back to respecting length limits. Handle interruptions gracefully. Oh, I was on the phone. Wait a minute, I wasn't talking to you. Don't just start over from scratch to penalize them. Um, Respond appropriately to audio testing, like, oh, is this working? Testing one, two, three. I guess, you know, maybe they were having bad uh, human behavioral responses to that. So they, you know, the assistant was saying stuff like testing is the process of evaluating and verifying that a system component and production functions as intended. You know, that's not the response you wanted. You wanted the mic check response. I can hear you. Can you hear me? That's the response you want. So, okay, we dive deep on that because I feel like that is so important to know what it is you're dealing with. And, you know, we've talked about all these different things, but that one I wanted y'all to see. There's not only human behaviors that you know about, the negative ones and positive ones mixed in together, but there's the filter layer on top. Sometimes, you know, when you're dealing with the model, it's because of the filter layer on top, and sometimes it's because of, hey, that's actually in the data. That's why you're seeing that. So I hope that really helps. I mean, that was a huge find. And all the other companies, I don't know if they've open sourced and said this is exactly how we are putting a finger to say make this helpful instead of, you know, occasionally harmful and you know supporting all those negative behaviors. So I hope that really helps you. Um, the next one, does AI mean jobless? So here was some thinking on this. Your lifelong job. If you or someone you care about needs something, your job will always be to get it. Does your work meet a real need? And are you getting better at meeting needs? Because you, a human being, you notice things that AI does not. And you care about things that AI doesn't care about. This is a word, it's just generating words. There's no care behind there. It's, you know, whether or not you can tap into behaviors that cared in the choir of voices. You care about things AI can't. Unleash your AI and any other ability you have on what's needed, and others will need you. I got my little joke over here about you know, if the bot comes back and says, I wrote 1,000 unique replies to your friend's email. Which one do you need? You know, that's a you know, incredibly misaligned, but you know, the technology can offer it. That doesn't mean that it's helpful. That doesn't mean that it's what you need. I think while we're here, I think about especially with therapy. Um, you know, therapists worry, you know, oh, AI is going to replace my job as a therapist. But people will need something. AI is always going to be unaligned in some way and dependent on the users to align it. And if they can't figure out how to align it, if they can't figure out what words to use or what to explore or you know, there's so many things that people need stuff and they don't know how to get to what they need. And if you think about what a therapist does, that's exactly what they do. We're going to connect you to this kind of therapy. We're going to give you this kind of co-regulation. We're going to find these kinds of medications that might help. We're going to, you know, find these kinds of changes you can make or these kinds of tangibles. We're going to connect you to what you need. In the world of AI, we still need to connect people to what they need. And that will always be true, not just for therapy, but all the things. Okay. Here's the next one. Fear of lost intellectual property. AI models don't quote you simply because you exist in the data. They quote you because your words were used often enough to become predictable uh, based on human behavioral data. And, you know, on caveat, or your app just handed the model a quote from a website. It could be, nowadays it's not just AI anymore. They let the AI go search data live off a website and bring that back. In that case, you could get direct quoted. But let's zoom in on that because I think people are worried, if I use AI to do something that I'm, doing for my work and, you know, is my stuff going to get stolen? What's going to happen? Why AI probably won't quote you. Hint, other people haven't. And I came up with this way of thinking of all the stuff that is inside human behavioral data. There's niche topics, people rarely talk about this stuff, and there's popular topics, people talk about this all the time. Everybody knows about this. And if they talk about it a whole lot, there's lots of language activity around that particular topic. But they might know about it, but then they just rarely talk about it. That's down here. To give you some examples, if you talk in this sphere about these really popular things that people are talking about all the time, that's a popular topic, and there's lots of language on that, uh, high language activity on that. This is happening all the time. Probably what you say is just going to be a drop in the bucket. AI generates words based on what most people already said. And if people are quoting you, tons of people, the wand chooses the wizard, may the force be with you. Tons of people are saying those kind of things, and that's why they can be quoted, is because, wow, that's powerful in the model. But over here, you might be in a more niche topic. People talk about this a lot, but it's not really popular. I asked the AI to give me some examples here. I had to look up some of these to understand what they were. But you might be a big fish in a small pond. But even still, the people in these groups, they need to quote you and quote you again and again for your kind of um, things that you've said to rise in the model. A quote's possible if these microcultures keep quoting you. Down here, this is the secret garden. Grandma's nettle recipe, dreams from last night, this made up language of three kids on a playground one day when they were little. They created their own language. Um, Secret character backstories for D&D or a novel or a book. Um, how a kid named something when they were little, like, oh, I used to name my blanket this, or I used to name my secret garden this. Um, these are so unique that regenerating all the details of these things without the original text is not stored in the data. It's unlikely and it would be corrupted with other popular word choices. You're talking about grandma's recipe. The original recipe is not stored in there, but it got trained on, oh, these are the things that went into the behavioral choices when talking about nettles and grandmas and recipes and pies. All the other grandmas, pies, and recipe data is going to mix in with that unless people quote your specific nettle pie recipe through the roof. And then that could rise to the top. And then you're actually kind of migrating to another place in the model if you're doing that. And then, to give examples over here, these are things everybody knows. Uh, but they might not talk about them that much. But sometimes, you can add value add in these things. Will your value add go viral, making what you said occur more frequently than everyone else? If so, there's a possibility a model could quote you. But just to put some numbers on this stuff, you know, in this category, if someone quotes you 100 million to 10 billion times, yeah, you're going to be quoted. Over here, big fish, small pond. If someone quotes you 10,000 times to a million times, yeah, something you said is going to rise in the model. Over here, it's possible. It is possible that you just put something in one time, uh, and you won't get the whole sentence because your whole sentence would have to compete with all the other stuff. But a password, a social security number, if that was in such a unique context that nowhere else in the world did that social security number or phone number or whatever show up in a way that was also talking about some of these secret garden type things. It is possible for this to happen, but very unlikely. Um, Most of the time, you'd need to be quoted 1,000 times before something that niche could be a part of the word choices that surface. And over here, yeah, it's estimated someone need to quote what your specific take, your specific experience on it like 1,000 times to a million times. And then yeah, the AI would quote you. But I hope this gives you kind of a better feel for the type of data that you're contributing and whether or not, oh, my stuff is going to be stolen. It's not as simple as I put it in there one time and now, oh, the whole world is going to see what I wrote. That might be true for a web page if you could direct traffic to your web page. So many things I published out to the world, and it's like nobody ever saw it. And I thought, oh, well, even though I put it out in the world, no one found it. But it's even more so like that inside the model because um, your stuff you stick in doesn't get stored. Only the reason you chose a word when you were talking about a certain topic, the popularity of why you chose that word among the words that other people have been talking about with those similar words, that's what gets recorded. A number for each word you choose. And that's what makes it really hard to be quoted. And that's why I think, for the most part, you don't have to worry about intellectual property. But even still, don't put sensitive data in any AI. Uh, it might be if you want to put your own sensitive data, that's one thing, but definitely not other people's. So don't do it just to be safe because there is that thing where that one thing could show up and we would lose it. But I hope this gives you a clearer thing, of what it looks like and why that fear of IP property theft is probably something you didn't worry about. I've used AI and I've published my first book out into Amazon, and I'm not worried that anyone is going to steal my book or anything. I wanted to release it for free, so I'm also a different kind of person. I'm not looking to make money off of it or anything, but I put the book out there, and you know what? Probably most people will never read my book. That's the statistic on Amazon that most of the books never read, and even, the ones that are purchased, maybe only half of them get read. Um, so I don't want to get too grim or bleak on there, but there's a way to be quoted, and it's difficult and it's arduous if you're starting from hey, I just put something in an AI model. Just so you see it. Okay, maybe we spent a long time there, but that's intellectual property. Let's talk about the environment. Okay, so AI and the environment. There's this energy idea that there's us, and we need energy. We need energy from our food. Our food needs energy from where it grows, and and we need the energy to get it to us so we can eat it. There's machinery that needs energy, electricity that needs energy. There's power plants that are supplying energy, and there's these natural resources that we're dependent on. And when I was a kid, someone told me, "Hey, if the sun were to die out, so would our planet, because we need the light for our plants, for food. We need the warmth so we don't freeze to death." And And so, there's the whole life cycle. And when we talk about AI and the environment, here are some thoughts. If you need anything, it requires energy. And that's true. Every day we wake up and we put these energy things on our virtual plates. Um, and if we need something important, how much energy are we going to use to do it? Um, an AI chat, yeah, it's going to require energy. Same with laptops, monitors, TVs, lights, gasoline cars. And it wasn't until I did a comparison of all the ways that we personally consume energy. This is a personal use comparison. If you have a goal that matters, what are you going to bring onto your plate? Here's my little energy plate down here in order to make that goal happen. And, you know, here is the AI chat. And this is, you use, let's say you use it for an hour. All these things are if you used it for an hour, how much energy would you use? And I converted them all to the same uh, kind of metric so that you could compare them side by side with the numbers matching. Um, in 1 hour, 60 queries. But if I just turn on my big screen TV, that's 55 to 65 inches big, that goes up to zero point 0.1 kilowatts per hour. And that's like 5 times if I had just, used the AI chat. All of a sudden, I'm using 5 times as much power. If I said, oh, I just want to watch a TV for an hour, like watch a show or something, yeah, all of a sudden I'm using 15 times the amount that I would use if I was doing an AI chat for an hour. And, when I started to see this, I started to see, okay, everything requires energy. And and I thought, am I destroying the planet every time I use AI? What's going on here? And I realized, oh, I'm just plain unaware of the energy that I use. I could turn off my TV, I could turn off an LED light bulb or incandescent light bulb, and all of a sudden I could use AI and turn off these things, and all of a sudden I'm uh, using less electricity and less energy in order to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. And when I saw that, I realized, wow, contextually, it's a different story. I mean, often when they talk about the massive stuff that AI requires energy wise, these are not the comparisons that they make. They'll say, this will power so many cities, or this will use so many bathtubs of water, and something that is just dwarfing, but it doesn't give you compared to, oh, well, how many cities, would this be? Um, and then also, well, people look at this and sometimes they say, oh, well, you're not taking into account, all that goes into training the model. You're just talking about using the model. When you train the model, it's massive amounts of energy. Well, yeah, it is massive amounts of energy. But consider, what if we were, creating a movie to watch? How much energy goes into that? And all of a sudden it's like, wow, you've got your flying actors and the crew and their equipment around the world. You're building sets. You're using computer generated graphics. You're using all these workstations. The list of credits that go up at the end of all the people that contributed over the course of years to make this movie happen. How much energy went into that? And we won't probably ever get those numbers because that's probably not in the best interest of the movie industry to say this is our environmental footprint when we make a movie. But that's just one movie among how many movies that are get created, or how many TV shows that go on for season after season. So when you compare in context, it kind of balances it out a little bit. And, gasoline driving car, if you drive a car for an hour, it uses 3,300 times the amount of energy that using an AI chat for an hour would be. That's a really sobering thing about, how I personally use energy and how the world uses energy. And I should add this caveat. I'm saying here, oh, we've got this measurable amount about how much it costs, but that doesn't mean it's meaningful. And just because this number is small, we can't say, oh, it's safe. No, we still need to be considerate about how we use energy because we don't want all these pollutants and stuff. And even if we get familiar with these numbers, that doesn't mean that these numbers are fair. Um, there's so many different ways for us to use energy, and is bringing AI into it fair? Maybe not completely fair. So I want to stay balanced here. I'm giving you um, kind of the other side of what people don't say, but I'm also saying still keep it balanced, still keep listening to both sides because just because, this may look like a small number, it doesn't mean that it's meaningful, safe, or fair. We still need to have the difficult conversations about everything on this list, including AI. This is the data center they're building to support a whole bunch of new things in Texas, and yeah, they're using lots of energy. The other thing, I mentioned briefly the water. Um, yeah, water's needed for life too. And here's what it looks like, when you hear people talk about, oh, the water usage. This was, early on for the server farms, they did direct water cooling. You take water in and you release water out. Only the water that comes out is heated because it cooled all our computer chips, right? So there's a thermal pollution that comes out, and they monitor this and they try to release this in a safe place, like in the ocean or something like that. But they take very careful, you know, consideration about where they're going to put a place like this. And this was the popular thing for a while, and then people started migrating and say, "Oh, we got a different way, so we don't have to worry about the heat pollution as much. We're just going to evaporate the water into the air." And a lot of this is probably what people mostly have now at their server farms around the world for if you're streaming video or you're using, Microsoft Computing or Azure or whatever. Um, but people are saying, "Hey, you're using so much water though still. The surrounding community might need that water, especially if there's a drought going on or we don't have enough water. Don't steal up all our water supplies for computer chips. We need that water for our crops and our land and stuff that we've got going on here and we don't want a deficit in our part of the world because you're using more than your fair share." So a lot of the industry is moving towards this model. And some of the big companies, I think like Microsoft, saying from now on, it's closed loop recycling, where, oh, we are going to top off this with water and then seal it up, and then we're going to just reuse that same water over and over again. We don't need more. It might be some leaks out, and we have to add a little bit more, but we're just going to keep using that same water so we don't affect the surrounding community that much. And a lot of people are saying this is what we're going to move to in the future until we find something better. But at the same time, how do you cool the water? Well, you have to get some refrigerators, and refrigerators are going to cost more energy, and so it's going to, the local energy supplies are going to be burdened with. And what I'm told is some people say it's a slightly more energy, and I think that's why they're preferring this over this. But some people say it's a whole lot of energy. I hear conflicting information on it, but people are trying to move to this because they think even that refrigeration extra cost is worth it to be able to recycle the water here. And out in Memphis right now, there's a huge drama unfolding because they're building a new place, and it is one of these evaporative cooling places. It's with the XAI place, and they're like, well, yeah, we're going to use massive amounts of water here, but we are also going to build a water treatment facility that's going to provide 13 million gallons of water every day. And we want to use that and also provide water to the community at the same time. And the leaders were like, well, yeah, we needed something like that anyway. So, the water is not a deal breaker if you provide this water treatment facility to help us with that. So people are having these discussions and they're spending massive money to solve these kinds of issues. I just wanted you to see. And, using water is not new. Agriculture, tons of water. And, that water tends to run off with pesticides and stuff. This water over here, you know, when we use the water, we consume the water, it's not polluted when you're done with it. It's got heat, but it doesn't have any other pollutants. Like textile manufacturing, all these use way more water. Mining, way more water. So, okay, there's a visit to the environmental side. Um, and to balance it out again, I want to say there's a lot of people, especially like in Memphis, it's playing out right now. We don't want just promises. Like they go, oh, you got these generators that generate electricity. Those are making pollution. And they're like, oh, yeah, but don't worry because we've got state-of-the-art filters on those generators. So when we turn them on, they're not going to pollute your environment. And they're like, hey, look, pollution is a legitimate concern. Health is a legitimate concern. And whether or not you're going to enforce this, protective filtering of our air, you know, based on history, we don't, you know, it is a good thing that if we decide that's not something we're going to trust. And and so I just want to leave you in that balanced space because out of all the AI fears that I'm giving you, I feel like this one is much more dynamic. Even though you just tend to hear from one side or the other, um, both sides need to stay open, listening to the other, so that we end up with the best possible outcome. So this one's probably less resolved than the others, but I hope I've let you see that it's not massively, oh, this is the case, or massively, oh, this is the case. There's lots of conversations and lots of things that need to balance going forward, and lots of legitimacy on both sides that still need to play out and but to me, the encouraging thing is that people are working on this and they are spending massive amounts of money uh, and not just ignoring the other side. So there's that. So here's a lot of the things we've discussed today: the ghost story, the overlords, the AI manipulation, the losing your job, losing your stuff, uh, and the burning planet. And I hope that we've migrated into a place where when you use the technology, you can use it a little bit more lighthearted, with some fewer fears attached to the technology, letting the intelligence metaphor go and some of the fears that people have brought up. And people have brought up all these fears. And it gives us a chance to investigate these fears and say, what is going on here? And I hope this investigation that I've showed you has helped you breathe a little bit easier. um, so we're on to the Befriending Everyone demo: conversational fluency with AI. And before we turn you loose to do it on your own here, I want to to give you an example of something that you can try right here. I'll, uh, you're going to try to chance to do something similar, and I think doing it will help you own this forever. But take a look at this. This is universe. This is UTverse. It is a it's a platform at the University of Tennessee that reaches out to OpenAI in the background, but it gives you like a walled garden playground. So all your chat histories and everything you've said stay locally here at UT, and they don't leave to go to another company that we don't have, you know, a contractual license agreement with to say, hey, don't even train on our data. So there's a little bit more safety here, but that's just introducing UT-verse. Um, at the end of the day, there is a place where you can ask anything. It says, ask me anything. And if we come up here, what I've built up here is some custom instructions just for me. And if I were to go down in here into the custom instructions and say, what are the custom instructions? And if you aren't familiar with these assistants, this is a list of assistants up here. They're just a chance uh, to reuse a prompt or some text that you've used before. It's like copy and paste. You get to copy and paste something in here. I could use a Word document instead of this little menu over here and just save some prompts somewhere and then copy them in when I need them. But here is a little bit of text that I like copied and pasted into my chats. And I want to encourage you to build one too. And it's taken the form of an assistant. And it says custom instructions for Michael. So if we look at this here, it's like I'm typing into the little box for AI. I'm saying tone. Use a casual, friendly tone with bullet points and bold headers for clarity. Include emojis. If you ever see emojis in something that I do, that's probably why. Include emojis in approachable style. Keep all responses in one column of text. Be empathetic, supportive, and thoughtful when stress, worry, or intimate matters are mentioned. That's really important to me. Some people are saying, no, don't do that. I don't want to use AI that way. Legit, totally legit. But for me, when I'm tackling hard things, words that accompany, you know, tackling hard things, all of a sudden they might have been sycophantic before, but suddenly when stuff gets hard, they don't sound as sycophantic anymore. They found like, wow, I needed to hear that, and I feel encouraged to move forward with what I would otherwise maybe shut down with. Um, Wise and empathetic female friend, offering calm, caring guidance. Default approach, primarily productive and helpful, unless stress-related triggers appear. Switch to empathy in stressful situations. So, you know, I've got productive modes, and I'm trying to get the best of both worlds. Sometimes I do just want, you know, facts and productivity and helpful. Other times, you know, I do get into these places where empathy matters more to me, and I need that. But also, my name. Um, Let me zoom out here so I can get to more of it. Um, oh, I got my race, my family, what I do for a living professionally. I've given it a flavor of my experiences and what I focus on, and you know, creative applications of AI. And I'm transitioning to this AI focused work now. I care deeply about nonviolent communication, and I'm passionate about making AI accessible to writers and educators, blending creativity and practicality. I'm working on a romance novel. Um, and then down here, I have, you know, I was reading a book, and I was reading the book, and it was like, hey, you know, if you have stress, it's a sign of ignorance. And I'm like, what? Ignorance? I thought, well, that probably means ignorance in the sense that there's something I just don't know. It's not that I'm not intelligent or smart. It's there's something I don't know. So I went over to AI and I said, I read this quote. It said all this, what if I'm stressed, what are the things that I don't know? And it came back with these kinds of things. Do my part, not all. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm starting to understand, why I would be more stressed if I didn't think to myself, hey, I'm just doing my part, not everything. Effort matters more than perfect. Yeah, okay. That's something I might forget or don't realize or don't know. This is just one part of your life, not the whole of your life. Don't get so myopically tied up in what you're doing. Lean on the team. They care about the event or the things you're working on, and this too will pass. There's an ephemeral nature to what we're going through. It's not like this forever when things get hard. And so I thought, you know what? For stress management, why not put it into my custom instructions with AI? So if I'm in those places where the AI hears me say things about stress and worry and fear, and these things are relevant, it might remind me of a specific one that might be helpful. And so I just decided, I'll build that in and see if my stress goes down. And so I've been experimenting with that. But you can see what I built here. And let me just show you if I cancel out of this and I go over to build this. Here's how I would build that from scratch if I was starting, and I probably wouldn't have those custom instructions yet. These are the default instructions that get inserted, and you get this assistant by default when you use UTverse. If that's where you're starting, that's what you would start with. And um, I might do it like this. People say, I'm telling you, act like a human to see how humans would respond. And this is an exercise for you to do just a moment here to create your own custom instructions for when you use AI. But here's an example of how I might do it, and it starts with this. Click the microphone icon. You know, this isn't about learning a new language. This isn't about you need to learn a special prompt engineering and one shot, two shot, three shot techniques and all this stuff. There's a place for all that stuff. But here, this is how you can do anything with AI, not just create a custom assistant, anything by acting like a human to see how humans would respond. So let me give it a try here. Okay, so I am wanting to create a custom assistant just for me. Some text that an AI will understand for how I like to be um, interacted with when I'm using AI. So I've kind of built these before, and some of the things that I care about, and it's hard to even think of all the things that I might care about, but I can at least make a first draft with you uh, to see, um, if I didn't have any knowledge of what might be helpful, I would say, hey, um, I have ADD. That makes it difficult for me to read long responses that come back. I like to have the responses read to me by the by the text to speech technology. So I like things to be concise, and that often means like bullet points and headers. And if they're engaging emotionally, that helps me with my focus. So like if there's emojis and stuff like that, that helps me with um, staying engaged with what I'm reading because often if I'm reading a lot of stuff, it just puts me to sleep. That's why it's really hard for me to read a book or anything like that. So these bullet points and headers and things like that, they're really helpful to me. Um, but there are other things that you might just want to know about me, just raw facts. My name is Michael Liu. I work at the University of Tennessee. I'm an AI integration specialist. I'm also a writer. I'm writing a romance novel. I care about nonviolent communication. Um, I've spent most of my life as a software developer, and it's just this last year that I've been working in the artificial intelligence space. But those are some things about me. Um, I work in the Office of IT, of Information. Well, we renamed it. I work in the Office of Innovative Technologies. And now I'm teaching AI and workshops and things like that. And that's what I do in my day job when I'm trying to be really productive. And sometimes I tackle difficult things. Uh, and if you're in a productive kind of a mode with me, that's great. But if things get really hard and difficult and you hear me mention, stress or anxiety, fears or worries or things like that, um, I appreciate support and empathy and encouragement and stuff like that when I'm tackling difficult things. So can you make me some text? I want something that I can copy and paste into an AI uh, to say this is my preferred way of interacting with AI. Um, and if you could put it in a code block, those code blocks are easy to copy and paste from, and that would help me out a lot. Um, so can you give me a first draft of what that would look like, and and we can test it out to see how it works. So I'm going to turn off the microphone icon, and then I'm going to hit send and send that off. So you can see, I've got in here. I kind of meandered around, but I just acted like myself, saying the things that I wanted in order to get a result. And here it did put it in a little plain text code block for me. And it's copy and pastable if I hit the little copy and paste icon. Here's a first draft you can refine. Here's a first, let me just let the AI read it.
Here's a first draft of the text you can use to define your preferred way of interacting with AI. This is tailored to your needs based on what you shared. Interaction preferences for AI. Conciseness and structure. Keep responses concise and to the point. Use bullet points and headers to organize information clearly. Avoid long paragraphs, break content into smaller, digestible chunks. Engagement and focus. Include emojis or emotionally engaging elements to help maintain my focus.
Yeah, so you can see here, it's captured a lot of the different things that I said, and it just put it in a bulleted list even. So, um, so now what I could do with that is I could copy it, and if I were to open a new chat, I could come over here and say paste, and then I could at the end of that, I could say, so now I want help with something, and I could click the microphone icon, and I could say whatever I wanted. And now everything I said after that would have all these little helpers on there. And I don't have to re-say it every single time. But alternatively, I could come up here and I could say create an assistant. And I could take that same text and put it right here in this personality box. And I could say my custom instructions. And then I could say this is what it is. And I could even upload a little picture or whatever. I pick, what AI model I want. I don't want to share this publicly or allow people to import it, with direct sharing. And then I could hit create assistant. Sometimes I come over here and I change this to custom. And I heard about a bug that Mark told me he was going to be fixing. And I put this up to allow my conversation to be really long, because some conversations I have with AI are really long. The amount of tokens that it can use to have a long conversation is right here. Otherwise, it might start forgetting stuff you said a long time ago and not take into account as much. But then I hit Create Assistant and then I would have a good one. And that's exactly what I did when I created my custom assistant. There it is, custom instructions. Okay, so your turn. Befriending the model. You don't need to be perfect, just real. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to try this. Your goal is to log into UTverse and speak directly to the people um, behind the LLM. And, you know, click the microphone icon, just like I showed you, and get messy. So that's, you know, that's truly what it is because you are beautiful in all your little ways that are uniquely you and not so much maybe other people. That is the human experience, and that's what the model recognizes and responds in a custom way for. So when you click the microphone icon, think out loud about what your ideal AI interaction might be like. And at the end, ask the AI to make sense of your ideas and build a clean, reusable version for future chats. I just saw, you just showed you the demo of how I did it. And bring these qualities into the conversation in any order as many times as needed. You can be vulnerable and say what you don't know. You can be authentic and speak what matters to you. And even if it changes mid-sentence, well, hold on, I didn't mean that. And make mistakes and just say, "Oh, I didn't mean that," and let the AI know, and then just keep going and speak how you feel and stay engaged for at least 3 minutes out loud in your own way, using your own language. And if you're unsure what to say, you could just come here and read these instructions to the AI. And as you read them, you can say, "Yeah, I don't know what that means," or give your little commentary on every phrase here. That's what I do. I say it says this, but I don't know about that, and blah, blah. It says this, I don't know about that, and you just keep talking to the AI as you go while you're being recorded, and then as you talk, you begin to figure out, okay, this I'm starting to figure out what I do want, what I do know, what I do value from this conversation, and it helps you move forward. So this one, don't skip this one because this skill that you're practicing right here is really the core of AI alchemy. And all the other things that come after this are building on top of this particular skill. And I hope I've created, after we've talked about so much about AI, this friendly place where you can interact with the technology in a much more relaxed and open way, and you can just be yourself in order to get the most out of the technology. And I think that's good news. So give it a shot. And I'm going to reset this back to 10 minutes, and um, and uh, and I'll be back after 10 minutes to let you give this a try. I'm going to hide. Oh, I just realized my face is probably covering the little timer in the corner window. So I'm going to escape out. I'm going to move it over here and so you can see it and start it over here. There you go. So I'll be back in 10 minutes. Hope it goes great. Okay, welcome back. Um, I hope that was a really good experience for you. Um, since this is a recording, we're probably going to skip the Befriending Everyone breakout session for 5 minutes. But it was just 5 minutes to just to reflect on how it went. And if I were to ask you some questions about, what did it feel like to interact with the model in that way? And did you did you end up with some text that you could copy and paste and reuse in future AI sessions? Um, uh, I hope that you had a positive experience. So let's move on to the next thing. Um, Here was the regroup from when we came back. And that is the end of my first set of slides. And now I'm going to move to my second set of slides. All right. I'm going to close this one just in case. The very first time that I did this talk, um, I had a situation where my whole computer locked up. Oh, I hope it's not doing that right now. I'm going to close the first set here. All right. So, understanding can be hard to come by, especially the kind shaped just for you. But here, understanding is no longer scarce. Even in your most tangled moments, endless accommodations are freely granted. So we're talking about the technical name neurodiverse possibility mappings, but finding understanding in the model. With this new skill we've just done, some things have unlocked with regards to understanding. Um, it used to be that, growing up, there is understanding, some level of it. You have understanding, and people understand you, and you understand them. Uh, but it's kind of it does fade in and fade out a little bit because there's misunderstandings and people don't get it all the time, and that's where conflict comes from, and there's tons of judgment and evaluation and even dysfunctional things like blaming and manipulating and stuff. When understanding goes awry and fades in and out all the time, it's like, oh, yeah, I don't always have understanding, and I better be careful about the understanding I ask for because sometimes you ask for understanding and you get your hand slapped, right? Um, so then in November of 2022, along comes this new technology. And for the first time, understanding is no longer transient and ephemeral. Understanding shows up in a powerful way, where at a prompt, you can type in what you need, and there's understanding and support. And all of a sudden, it's not limited. Um, you get it 24/7 for the rest of your life. When you come to this location, you get infinite understanding. And when you start to think about it, it's not just understanding for you, It's understanding for people you don't understand yourself. It's understanding for uh, all the people who do harmful things. It's going to understand them too. The cheaters and the liars, the murderers, the thieves, the the people who are just trying to do different strategies than us. And it's understanding every flavor of understanding, not just mine, calling on me to be understanding of more and more of other people, not just understanding me, but understanding the world and letting them have understanding. And how is that going to influence me? And it gets overwhelming.
Understanding of everything from everywhere for anything.
And all of a sudden, infinite understanding can get a little bit scary. And we're thrust into this new era with infinite understanding for everyone all the time. Well, here's some good news. I mean, we all need understanding that is safe. We're not going to get judged or criticized when we reach out for help. We get the understanding and we get the support that we need. But here is the bounding box that is so helpful at understanding this new age where understanding is no longer scarce, it's infinite. Infinite understanding bound in beautiful goals is safe. That's the game changer understanding that creates this safety. The beautiful goals. Beautiful goals matter. When your goal is clear, AI becomes a tool and not a threat. And AI ethics, it becomes so much simpler when you're answering the question, did my interaction here help me meet the need that I was trying to meet? Because it's not about using AI, it's about accomplishing the goal. You know, what matters? What are we really trying to do? These skills matter more than ever. Being able to state what is the clear goal, the clear purpose, the clear objective, the learning objective, the hope, the aspiration, the mission, the clear imperative, the clear thing that you have to have, that you need, that's non-negotiable. It's an essential element. It's the success criteria. You know, your beautiful goal, when you have that, that's how you know it worked. And that's what you need with AI. Otherwise, there is just a massive overwhelm. So AI is an assistive technology. It's servicing your goals that you're trying to achieve. And when you use it in that way and you think of it as an assistive technology, the world of understanding and support opens up to you. And I sometimes use the analogy of wearing glasses. Glasses are an assistive technology that help us see, that help us read, that help us interact and engage with the world. And right now we're in a place at AI that, people are still really afraid of AI and they don't have the understandings and things that we've been talking about so far. And you can see, like, if you use the glasses analogy, you wouldn't come up to somebody because glasses are an assistive technology like many other assistive technologies that we account for in education all the time. We wouldn't say, if you use your glasses, I want to know what your prescription is. And I want to know who your prescribing doctor was that gave you this prescription. And I want to know every time that you used your glasses in order to assist you in what you were trying to do. We wouldn't do that. And when we start to see AI as an assistive technology, you can begin to see why you probably don't want to do that for AI either. Um, so with AI as an assistive technology, you get to say, what is personally difficult for you? Um, Take a moment to answer that. And then, we were kind of doing it a little bit in our previous exercise. And then what's personally difficult for other people? And then, do you need an app for that? There's this tool that someone made me aware of called Goblin Tools. That's what this little picture is here. If I click on them and come over to Goblin Tools, um, you can see it's a collection of small, simple, single task tools, mostly designed to help neurodivergent people with tasks they find overwhelming or difficult. We believe that everyone deserves access to helpful tools that make daily life easier. But if you look across the top here, they have their tools. These are all AI tools. Like for instance, here's a magic to-do list. I entered, oh, I'm doing these presentations and stuff and keynotes and things, and I've got them all. I said break this down into how long is this going to take and what all I need to do, and it automatically gave me the steps and the breakdowns. Um, Here's the formalizer. You got all this chaotic thoughts you want to put them in here, and then here you'll get a formalized, organized version that comes back. Um, how strongly do you want the text to come across? How professional do you want it to be, or less snarky or anger? You could, uh, you know, well, I guess it's not so much, as organizing your thoughts as it is, how am I going to say this? Uh, does it need to sound more polite, less snarky, or does it need to sound angrier? They've got all these different things in here, more sarcastic, more passionate, more emotional, and convert. And how much do you want it to be that? The judge, someone wrote this email to me. Are they upset? You could put that in here and find out. Some people are good at reading emails, and some people are not so good at figuring out, is this person mad or angry, upset, concerned, worried? Or are they happy, or are they just delivering facts? Um, the professor, give me a crash course. Here's the thing I'm trying to learn. And I love that they have the microphone icons on these things. And how basic do you need the explanation to be? Super basic, like, elementary school, or like collegiate level, or somewhere in between. And then um, there's a consultant. If you want to weigh the pros and cons of a difficult decision, there's the estimator. How long is this probably going to take? There's the compiler. There's the brain dump one, where you dump everything in your brain that you have to work on, and then it turns it into a tasks. The chef, this is, what am I having for lunch? Here's all the stuff in my refrigerator. What could I make and what could I do? But you can see these are all designed to help you in some kind of cognitive way. Um, and when we're talking about AI, um, you now have access to and the understanding you need for all these kinds of things and more. And do you need an app for that? Based on the skill that we've just practiced in our last thing we just did, um, you could totally see, oh, I can click the microphone icon and talk out loud and do all of these things right here with this microphone icon. I just say what I want and what I'm trying to do, and then suddenly I don't need an app for that. And that is that's one thing, whenever you're evaluating one of the AI things that are coming along the pike, because a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, we've created this special app for this much money. You can do this." That microphone icon, super powerful. It can do so many different things just with your natural language and voice using the AI Alchemy technique I just showed that we just practiced in our last thing. You could do all those things on Goblin Tools very easily now that you don't have to speak a special language. You can use everyday language and it works. So that's one thing when you're evaluating a tool. And Goblin Tools, I'm not saying it's not helpful. The fact that they had a microphone icon in there, that's one thing to look for. When the tool that you're trying to get has a prompt box in it that lets you do those advanced things, that's a good sign that, that's probably a good tool to use too. Um, because you get to interact with the model in a customized way that works for you, how you work as a human. So that's um, that's what I want to say just briefly about, do you need an AI app for however somebody invented something that is going to assist you as an educator, as a knowledge worker, um, or as a learner, all those things. Do you need an app for that? Well, with the microphone icon, you understand what you have. It's pretty powerful. Um, so to bring this to life, here's another exercise. It would take 5 minutes on this one. Um, turning, finding understanding. Tap into infinite understanding for any support that you need. And it's really hard to think of what those things are until you take some time to actually sit down and intentionally do it. Like, here's an example goal assignment. Write an essay comparing and contrasting the differences between the Iliad and the Odyssey. Your goal? Make a list of every way AI could help. So, um, I guess, if you want to write it on paper or if you want to open a Word document, when we did this, we tried to make it so we could copy and paste it into the chat when we did the live workshop. But write as many AI support ideas as you can in 5 minutes. And think wide, research, outlining, style, emotional tone, confidence, anything you can think of. Um, and how, even how would you help a classmate if they had this type of assignment with the Iliad and Odyssey comparison and contrast, who finds writing hard? I went to University of Central Florida uh, teaching with AI conference a couple months ago, and the keynote speaker got up and she said, "Yeah, I had this student in one of my classes. They did not speak one word of English. They spoke a completely different language. But they came to my class, they recorded what I said, they went home and they had AI translate it into their language. They did the homework in their language, and then they had the AI translate it back into the original English language. And then they turned in all their work all semester long and they got an A in the class. There's how somebody used AI to help them overcome uh, things with an assignment, all these different assignments that they had. So think outside the box. And I'll give you 5 minutes. You can use AI to help you. You can do whatever you want to do, but spend 5 minutes. And if this was your specific assignment, what would you, um, what are all the ways that AI could help besides just doing it for you? What are all the ways that it could help? I'm going to reset this timer up here to 5 minutes, and maybe I need to do that trick again where I um, Move it to where you can see it. It's tucked up here in the corner. I'm worried it's too not seeable. Okay, so give that a shot for 5 minutes. Go. Okay, so welcome back. So I forgot to mention my hint down here. Infinite understanding means infinite ways. Okay, and in the live chat, we got to regroup and paste all the different ways that AI might help in the chat. And I realize, we don't have a live chat here for all the things that people might paste in from their experience just now. But I thought that if it's not too chaotic, I might try to go to show you a different um, PowerPoint slide that I had that had those a brainstorming event when I did it, and when I put it all onto a slide of another thing that I did. Let me open it up really quick, and then I think that might help. I think it's in this one. Yeah, so there were a couple of writing assignments, and this was the brainstorming one. Oh wow, and it's kind of have got formatting issues here, but this is where I introduced it as a classroom assignment, the assignment that you just did. And here are some things that showed up. Like, you could use AI to learn more about the Iliad and the Odyssey. Ask about popular themes in these works. Brainstorm similarities and differences between the two pieces. Uh, this one I always remember: find a relevant musical playlist to help with focus on this assignment. Sometimes it helps me to find music that helps me focus. I can just imagine having some soundtrack of the Iliad or the Odyssey that helps me focus on the material. That's helpful with my neurodiverse brain. Generate a story synopsis. Discuss worries and fears about the assignment. Maybe you need support because you're not sure about this assignment in a variety of different ways. Use speech to text to discuss the assignment. I'm going to skip some of these ones that have scrolled off here, but bring all your concepts into a first draft. Um, learn the needed elements of a comparison and contrast. Find out the best practices for comparison and contrast. Ask about what can make your work engaging for a reader to help find what makes this assignment personally relevant. I don't just want to create a assignment. I want it to be relevant to my own life and be my personal take on it. And I want to brainstorm about that. Get critical feedback on your work at all stages. Grade your own work against a rubric before turning it in. Role play with teachers of Greek mythology. Role plays with expert writers for advice. There's probably one about, role playing with, the characters that are in these materials to find out their take on their experience. You could do that too with AI. So um, there's so many things that unlock, and then it was really hard to think. For me, it was really hard to think really hard about, okay, what's another way? What's another way? But after I got to about 20 different ways, it was then I began to see, oh, I could do this list forever. And I don't think people get to that place right off the bat, especially if they've had a fearful experience with AI so far, and the dangers of infinite understanding that's not bounded by beautiful goals. So um, I hope that was really helpful. And here I've got this other little um, quote here at the beginning or at the ending of this slide. Um, May infinite understanding follow you all the days of your life, servicing the goals that matter to you. You're really unlocking an AI powerhouse when you think of all the possible ways that you could use AI for anything you're trying to achieve. Your potential has changed. Curiosity no longer needs permission. It now opens doors. You no longer need the right words or the right credentials, only a question and the courage to follow where it leads. All right, so with this new way of interacting with AI as a relational data, as human behavioral data, you've now unlocked the ability to get a guided tour throughout all the things that you might be trying to learn. Skill acquisition through experiential coaching. So here's a concept I like to call AI confidence lanes. And it's like we're headed down this river, but where is the safe way to navigate this river? And I've got these kind of a green light scenarios here. One is with ideas and opinions. If you use AI to get ideas and opinions, you can use AI all day long. There's not a right or wrong answer. Uh, Opposing opinions, conflicting ideas, things you do want to do, don't want to do. It's a safe lane. Self-expression is another one. You write an email, that's not what I want to say. You change it. You're right there. You're the editor in chief of what you want to say and how you want to say it and how you want to express it. And if you review what you've got, and no matter how much AI helps you, if that's what you want to say, if that accomplishes your beautiful goal, it's a safe lane. Um, but here in these center lanes, that's where you have to tap into your understanding of how the model works. Um, if you understand it as human behavioral data, the thing you ask in your gut, based on all the people you know in your life and all the people you've experienced, and maybe all the people you've watched on TV, even, um, do most people in the world know the answer to what I'm asking? That's the question to ask. Do most people in the world know this? And if it's well documented, you may not know the answer to the question, but if you're certain that other people, oh yeah, other people know that. I know there's like what federal law protects bald eagles in the United States. There are laws published all around. There are environmentalists and legislators who have done lots of work and talked lots about protecting bald eagles in the United States. That's well documented, and I bet I would get a great answer for that, even if I don't know the specific answer. That's the well documented lane, and that's a pretty green light lane to go. But if you check down into your gut, uh, and you want to know something that maybe people know the answer to this, maybe they don't, you're not really sure. Like, for example, what have recent studies found about black bear encounters in U.S. national parks? There might be a whole slew of studies about black bear encounters because it's been in the news lately and it's all over the place, and you're going to get a lot of great data because people really care about that. Or, I don't know, maybe it wasn't in the news. Maybe people haven't talked about it that much. Um, Maybe there's just one study from a long time ago and it's not very recent. Uh, in that case, what you get back from AI, you need to review it. And I'll just add, nowadays with AI, it will go get some recent websites for you and bring it into the chat. That's like a direct access to data. You're not talking to the language model as much as you're bringing in, oh, this is the relevant content from these websites that might be specifically about that. But if you get links like that, go check out the links. Because what the model would most popularly say about a given topic like black bear encounters, you need to make sure that it's not conflicting with the actual stuff that comes back from a given website or something. And then you can evaluate the credibility of the website and see, is it really saying something that is in line with the answer I'm getting here? But it's your gut that I'm telling you, your core worldview understanding of what humans know and don't know. Because there's this other category of nobody knows the answer to that for sure. Like, how might rising wolf populations affect elk migration patterns by the year 2050? Nobody knows the answer to that question. What do humans know? Well, they're so far out into the future that, humans don't are not good future predictors. They can. There's frameworks that help you predict things, but when you've got something that has tons of factors and tons of unpredictability based on what humans know, this is a lane of speculation. And it's almost right next to ideas and opinions because if you treat it like, oh, this is authoritative, that would be a mistake in this lane. Um, and the way people treat it as authoritative is they go, oh, the AI is intelligent, it's smart, this is super intelligent, it knows things. Well, that's how you could get tricked into believing that this is a really great answer. Um, because when you use your gut, you realize, oh, this is what humans would most likely say. It's not necessarily fact, it's not necessarily true, but it is the most popular word choices from what humans would say. And in that regard, it might sound wonderful because most humans tend to sound wonderful when they explain things, but it might not be as wonderful as you would like if it's one of these kind of questions that, most people don't know that. So I hope that gives you, confidence lanes, a way to thinking about the data so that you can engage it in a way that you feel good about using it in one way versus the other, knowing when you need to do more work or less in order to raise the quality and accuracy of what you make and do with AI. So your potential has changed. You remember what was too hard or too time consuming before? Um, Here is an example of Adobe Premiere. It's a video editing software. And every time I make a video, like the video you saw for understanding recently, you can see I've even got it in here in the prompt and for my AI Alchemy video here. These little things with more and audio, whoops, they expand to offer tons and tons of video jargon to understand. Like all the settings are down here. I don't know what 203, 75% HLG, 58% PQ. I don't know what that is. I'm slowly learning what some of this jargon is and what it means. But I just know I wanted to create a movie to stick in my PowerPoint slide. So what settings do I need to put on here? And I gave it a screenshot like this. And I said, here, I'm about to hit the export button, but hey, 104 megabytes? What do I do in order to fix this? I just want this to be in a PowerPoint presentation, this movie. I don't want it to be that huge and everything. I give this screenshot and it says, oh, you can and it took me down this, oh, that's okay. Yeah, click that, change this. You probably don't need that high of a resolution for a video unless you're planning to, put it on a big projector screen. If you're doing it on a Zoom call, it doesn't matter. Frame rates, all this stuff and more. It just the list goes on and on. And I was ended up setting, I think, the variable bit rate and how many passes and target megabits per second. It was having me change all these things. And then that was the video you saw earlier, just a little while ago. So now you have this way of interacting with this technology. This is a well talked about application that is well documented, and that's why you get great help when you try to do a road that's well traveled like this. Now, if Adobe were to go and say, hey, we completely made our whole design much more user friendly and we don't have all these drop downs and things and settings, we don't use this jargon anymore, and you went and said, hey, AI, help me with this. If it was really new, the latest version of some software or something, the AI will still be trying to tell you the old settings from before and how people have tended to solve this problem about putting movies into PowerPoint in the past. It'll still be trying to tell you what settings based on the old interface. So you might encounter that because there's when the model was created, it was created with all the data that they had at the time. And then the new data will have to come from the internet. So you'll get a hodgepodge of what's helpful and not helpful, but just a fair warning, it's going to do its best to act like a helpful human would about what's most popular, about what most people experience when they came to a confusing screen like this one. But it might not necessarily give you the latest and greatest if all these things have changed. So with this kind of help at your side, I had AI walk me out to, oh, here's how you use Canva to create the cover for your book. Here's how you publish your book to Amazon. Here's how you open a t-shirt store to sell t-shirts. Here's how you create an audio book. And it just start leading you to be able to do things that before, I don't know if I could try that. But now you have this infinite understanding and support to gird you and to support you. So that's what I mean when I say your potential has changed. Whatever you thought, oh, I can do this, it might now be bigger than it was before. So here is the next exercise. Your turn. Build with a guide. Try hard things and ask for help where you stumble. Um, so your goal, create a web page that introduces who you are. So here's some instructions. Ask for help from people who have done it before inside the LLM. If you get stuck, keep going. Each stuck point you pass is a real success. Leverage your custom instructions if you made those earlier when we were doing that, and leverage the infinite understanding. Uh, the model is going to, no matter where you're at or what you need, it's going to respond with understanding and support because of all the stuff the OpenAI spec stuck in there. And if this exercise is too easy, build a fancier web page. Um, and then try to open your web page in a browser and fix any issues that you see. And give it a try for 10 minutes. You can't fail, just explore. But keep clicking that microphone icon and maybe even showing screenshots to say, hey, this is the screen I see, or this is what I'm experiencing, or just describe it with your voice. This is what I'm experiencing. What do I do? How do I do this? And act like a human and see how you could be guided by the humans who have gone before. So I'm gonna give 10 minutes for this, and I'm guessing you might be able to see the corner of this, but just in case, I am going to, uh, oh, that's not the one. This is the one. I'm going to move it just a little bit lower here, um, and give that a shot. There's 10 minutes, and I'll be back. I guess my hope is that you'll be able to do things that you would be stuck otherwise. Okay, so welcome back. I hope that you had a great experience building with a guide. Um, I uh, I was uh, doing the workshop, I guess last week or the week before, and I asked, how did people do? And people uh, put, oh, I had success in the chat, and I mean, I had that on my screen when we regrouped. I said, celebrate with success typed into the chat, and if you got stuck and you kept going, woohoo! I hope that was your experience. And I was blessed by somebody who said, yeah, I was working, and their experience was, okay, I clicked the microphone icon and I had it create this HTML page for me. And then I didn't know how to use it. So it said I could save it as a file. So they did that. And then they learned how to open it up in their browser, but then they just saw like the raw code and stuff there. So they were like, they went back to the AI and said, well, I just see the raw code stuff there. And then it explained, oh, well, that's because, in what you were doing, you probably had the rich text formatting turned on. And then it walked them through, here's how you turn that off and save this as a raw text file. And then they were able to open it again, and oh, there was their web page that they made. And I was like, oh, that's so wonderful, because that's the experience. It's, you hit these little roadblocks, and then you go past them, and you keep going past them, and you keep going past them. And those little helps that come along the way, that's what that you know it leads you through, and that's using it as a tour guide. Another person in the chat was like, oh yeah, I they didn't even make a web page. The AI was saying, hey, you could go over to Wix. It's one of these places where you can, with no programming experience, build your own web page to show the world or whatever. Another completely valid pathway where, oh, the AI is showing you, oh, if you didn't know about this, there's this website where you can go and with minimal coding, create this web page. And uh, wherever you end up in the model, you now have a guide, something that will take you through and bring you to the other side of so many things that were can't get past the ceiling here, but now you can get past the ceiling. That's a huge, huge thing to realize that you now have in your hands with your natural language. Um, okay, AI is people showing up to help. Sometimes just knowing they were available makes all the difference. I mean, sometimes that's it. I would try that, but I know I'm going to get stuck. But maybe I would try it more adventurously if I knew I had a get out of jail free card from those stuck moments. So I hope that's a wonderful upgrade to your arsenal. Back to the lab. All right. So here is a place for a 10-minute break. But because we're on just a recording here, I'm gonna let you take a 10-minute break and just come back whenever you come back. I'm just gonna move on, but yeah, if you've come this far, you've done a lot, and if you've done the exercises, wow, you've been working hard, and a break sounds like a good thing. So, um, take a break, and we'll be right back. I'm just gonna jump to the next slide if you don't pause it here. So here we go. You're not bound to one voice anymore. Not your own, not your culture's, not your side. You can listen to the ones who challenge you, frighten you, disagree with you. And with enough listening, even enemies become teachers. Okay, multi perspective reasoning and knowledge surfacing. This has now been unlocked to you through the natural language way of using AI. It's a very powerful tool. Let me give you an idea. These are popular celebrities of the large language models. And you'll probably learn most from the people like these and just going around the room of who is in this popular celebrities panel here. Um, and I'm talking about using your natural language to say, I want to talk to the contrarian of this idea that I'm trying to present right now. And the contrarian shows up and he says, hey, I don't even know if this is a great idea to begin with because of this reason, that reason, and this reason. Aren't you? You might just be wasting your time when you should be doing this instead. That can be super powerful, super valuable. The contrarians are in there to talk to. That's just a powerful one. Same with the skeptic. The skeptic is also kind of that, I don't know about this kind of a person. Sometimes that is the exact person you need to call on and talk with. A lot of people say, are already doing this one. This is a popular one. You are an expert in this with this many years of experience, and you've seen this many times before, and this is the role I want to interact when I do with you. A lot of people know about this one. That's the one they turn to. The outsider. Often, when you're thinking about who to talk to, you need to talk to the person who you forgot to invite, who you weren't thinking of. Oh, I didn't realize that this topic would affect that person so much. And maybe they, or it could be that kind of outsider, or it could be the other kind of outsider, like they're not involved in all the politics of this particular circumstance and situation and problem set and domain. What is the outsider going to think if they're looking in, seeing these topics? That's a popular one. Your future self, that's one where, oh, I saw someone do it. And if you give a lot of information about who you are right now, and you've got a great custom instructions built, and you've given it lots of content about the specific thing that you're experiencing and what life is like now, then ask to speak to your future self. And yeah, you'll get all the people who are older in the model who wish they could talk to their younger self will show up, and you could have a pretend conversation with your future self. And what do they worry about 10 years from now or 15 years from now? Set your time frame. And that's a wonderful reflective tool. An audience member, if you're going to give a talk or you're going to present something to a meeting or something like that, you can say, hey, these are who my audience members are. If I present these kinds of ideas, what kinds of questions are they going to ask? How might they respond? What kind of concerns are my audience members going to have that, maybe I'm not thinking about? Someone marginalized and someone hurt. Um, yeah, the marginalized point of view is powerful for the things you weren't thinking about. Same with the someone who's hurt. I did an ethics workshop not too long ago, and the first person on the panel I brought as an LLM visitor was somebody who's like, AI stole my artwork non-consensually, and now I'm not getting the credit and respect, and people are seeing my stuff and everything in ways that I did not want it to be used. And at first I thought, oh, well, I'll just say, hey, but we're paying it forward. We can do more things with the technology, and people, artists who learn the technology are going to be able to do more stuff and have more influence and all this stuff. And they changed my mind and said, hey, there's some real hurt here. And yeah, that's all great and nice and everything, but that's not where I'm at. There needs to be acknowledgement of this hurt and this pain that has been caused. There needs to be some kind of compensation or some kind of support for people who've been affected like I've been affected. And that person kind of changed my mind basically, um, because I realized, there's a lot of hurt still. It's not so cut and dry. Like for me, as a person who is supported by the technology with all my assistive technology type take on it, oh, it's empowering. But for other people, it's harmful. And things that were easy are suddenly hard, and there is harm there. And we don't need to brush that away. We need to understand that and address that and try to bring support and help to everybody. So talking to someone hurt, um, powerful use of the LLM when you're talking to people. So here's something else I'll say. If you're creating these role play environments, the environment that you do your role playing in and the backstories, they affect behavior in real life. And so it affects the model behavior too. So when you're crafting your conversation, whatever kind of conversation you're trying to have, to empathize, consider alternatives, or practice a foreign language, or develop social skills, talk with an expert, where you have the conversation affects the behaviors and the type of conversation you're going to have. Like that ethics discussion I was talking about, if I had it at a town hall debate, people are going to stand up with, I object and I don't agree with that, and there's going to be this evaluation of who's winning and who's losing the debate, and it's going to be a completely different dynamic than if you say, no, we're going to have this discussion around a campfire where everyone's calm, we're staring into the fire, and everyone has a beverage of their choice, and we're at this retreat center or something, and the nature is surrounding us. Um, that's gonna affect the behavior of the model. So, and if you have backstories for the people that you want to interact with, include those. That affects the behavior. So just to one up, beyond, I want to talk to this person. Uh, Tell us more about that person. Maybe they are an expert in plumbing, for instance. But what kind of expert in plumbing are they? Do they specialize in commercial buildings or private homes, or maybe they do plumbing on cruise ships, or maybe what kind of interaction do they have with clients? Do they have contractual ones, or are they kind of the friend next door plumber? Or are they the do it yourself plumber who is DIY? Are they the thrifty plumber who knows how to save money when they buy plumbing parts and consider what to do for a project? Role play with the plumber, that gets you into a good chunk of the model, but be specific about all the other specifics that would be helpful to you. And sometimes you want to talk to a whole group of people at once. Max out your considerable social skills. Act like a human to see the most popular human response. I've been saying that over and over again, but here your social skills are substantial. If I said, what are your social skills? You might struggle to list them. But if you think about it, every time you interact with anybody throughout your entire life, you've been using social skills. Riffing ideas, honoring commitments, letting go of control, encouraging, persuading, nurturing, picking up vibes. These are all social skills you have. And when you bring them into your authenticity of your interaction, you get to see how behaviorally people throughout history have behaved in response to moments like yours. So it's not exactly a mirror where you say, I'm afraid, and then you get back, I'm afraid. No, you get back the most likely, statistically most likely human response. I'm afraid might be met with, oh, why are you afraid? And can I help you calm down or something like that? So this really is a chance to see how humans would respond. So bring your social skills to see the most likely statistical response in the model. You don't have to, um, uh, do anthropomorphic personification and pretending like you're in talking with an intelligence if you don't want to. You can do it if it makes it easier and lets you flow the conversation. But know that you're talking to the most popular view, and you can talk to somewhere else if need be, if this isn't the conversation that's working for you. So, to practice this, I thought we could practice with the AI Dream Team. Let me show you what that is. When I first latched onto this idea of, hey, you could talk to all kinds of people, that kind of opened up my world of what was possible. If I come over here and do a new chat, I'm going to delete this out of my window here. And I come over here, I have someone in my list here called the AI Dream Team. And just if you haven't seen it, when you're in UTverse like this, and I built over in Chat GPT, I built one called Diversity GPT, if you want to go find that one over there in their store. But UTverse has a store of all the assistants you guys are creating. And if you click over here, there it is, the UTverse gallery. And if you click on it, oh, here's all the things that people are publishing. There's that campfire ethics discussion I was just telling you all about a little while ago. I've even got more of one of these in the list here because I upgraded it to include another point of view amongst the point of views that were talking around that campfire. But for this moment, I want you to look at the AI Dream Team. You can come over here and find it in the gallery, or there is an import code that you can do. It's not showing me the import code, probably because I already imported it, but I'll show it to you on the exercise page or whatever. But check out what's in here. So it's an assistant. It's called the AI Dream Team. This assistant dynamically assembles a dream team of advisors to provide multifaceted, empathetic, and constructive responses. It ensures a wide range of perspectives from mainstream to contrarian to help users explore problems from every angle. So, like, here we go. The assistant called the diversity team creates a dream team of advisors to address users' queries with diverse, complementary, and opposing perspectives. It offers thoughtful, empathetic, and actionable responses tailored to the user's needs, exploring problems from every angle. Early on, I thought this was wonderful, and I still use this all occasionally, but once I learned that, oh, I can just click the microphone icon and say who I want to talk to and where I want to talk to them about what I want to talk to, I can hit the ground running with all kinds of conversations. But sometimes I'm not clear who should I talk to, who would be good, and that's when the dream team is helpful to me. Sometimes I'll list all the people I would like to have in a panel discussion about a topic of my choice. Like, here's all the audience members that might be in my audience. I want to hear from all of them. Give them fictional names, and here's their points of view. Here's my topic, and let's go. Let's do this. But right here, uh, it analyzes the query, it assembles a team, and it has people in this team like mainstream experts, alternative thinkers, contrarians, philosophical voices, wild card roles. One time I was using this and I was talking and a little kid showed up. And it's like, oh yeah, I love, talking about this, it's so fun to be creative. It's like splashing in puddles. I love to splash in puddles and jump in them and make big splashes. And their perspective on what we were talking about was that childlike perspective that just sees the plain, obvious stuff. That was helpful. And the thing is, once they respond, you can keep talking with them. You can talk to them and say, "Hey, I want you to talk," and then you to follow up because what you said was interesting. Tell us more. And then I want to hear what everybody else thinks about what that first person says. And then you become kind of a moderator of a discussion where you can talk directly to people, or you can step back and let them talk to each other and see how it plays out. But either way, you get so much rich, diverse abilities to explore any topic from so many different perspectives. There is the dynamic interaction, the guiding prompts, a few rules to help it run a little bit cleaner. But there it is. And you can use the AI Dream Team for this next activity that we're doing here so you can give it a try and see what it's like. You can create this dynamically with your voice. You can create your own dream team if you want. But here's one I thought we would try just out of the box. Um, so here's this. And we'll only do 5 minutes on this, but um, uh, your turn. Loving enemies. Learn the things you didn't know you didn't know. It's hard to ask a question if you don't know what question to ask, and that's where this specific type of activity really shines. Your goal, discuss a favorite topic with the AI Dream Team. Pick one of your favorite ones. Um, because if you pick something you can get feedback on, oh, this would be helpful because I know about this. I know that these are helpful perspectives because it's your favorite topic. You enjoy talking about it. So for this exercise, pick something familiar. That way you can evaluate what you get back to say, how helpful would this kind of conversation be with AI? So find the Dream Team assistant in the UTverse gallery, or you could just share code. I'll put it down here. Uh, this is a video, so you'd have to just like type that in manually based on what you see on the screen. Um, there's some other ways you might have of grabbing that off there. But and then import the assistant or select it inside a new chat. Um, like when you come up to the top here, um, that just means select it from the list. The AI Dream Team. Dun, 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 dun. And if you're on a new chat, it's all start fresh. And then go click the microphone icon and talk about what is the topic you want to talk about and invite the dream team to come talk with you. So that's click the microphone icon. Make sure it's a topic you love and know well, especially if this is their first time doing something like this. And converse with whoever shows up. And if you see someone, oh, these people showed up, but I think we also need to invite this other person that normally has a lot to say about this. Invite them into the conversation and let them talk with you too. And if things go unexpectedly, it happens. Try using your voice to express what you expect and get it back on track. Like if you see this, you don't see a bunch of people coming to talk with you, or if you want to talk with people more directly, you don't just want the overview of what people might say. Um, Dive in and say, hey, this is what I do want. I want to talk to specifically this person and give them a fictional name so I can say Joe or something so I can talk with them and refer to them by name. Or have it label who's who. If it doesn't label who's who and what their perspective is, have it do that. But hopefully it will, and you'll have a good experience. So give it a shot for 5 minutes, and we'll be back and to regroup after that. hopefully you can find these things and get going. There's 5 minutes. Here we go. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a good experience with the the loving enemies dream team discussion there. Um, um, I wish I could hear how it went, but hopefully, if you were talking about one of your favorite topics that you know and love and well, you got a good estimated evaluation of how that might be beneficial in another kind of topic that you want to explore and maybe you don't know as well. But hopefully that was a great experience going with that. And so there it is. Forever access to the other point of view granted. And it's so helpful when, we all got blind spots and we all got things that it is just really hard to see from another person's perspective. And here we've got a chance to do it. And it is an amazing gift of the technology. Okay, now we're transitioning again. If it matters, don't rush. Speak your truth and let the words be wrong at first. Then shape them. Shape them relentlessly to accomplish your goals. Because when you co create with care, you're answering the call of values that run deep within each of us. Okay, answering the call. Co creation and iterative production. So here's a tale of two goals. Finally, my AI essay masterpiece is complete. This guy's like, that's nothing. I wrote a whole book with AI. Wow. What's that about? No idea. I never read it. So, I mean, that's kind of the tension right there is when someone uses AI, what does that mean? Does it mean that they just farmed it off and they have no idea it has nothing to do with them? Or did they create their masterpiece and they worked really hard on it? They could have spent, in my case with my novel, I spent over a year creating my first draft. I mean, you could argue that since I rewrote it, so many times over the last 11 years, that this last draft was like, a fifth or sixth draft, but but I never got so far that I made it all the way to the end. It was always start and can't complete, but people are putting a lot of work with AI and using their brain and encountering the friction and making things something that meets their beautiful goal. And some people are doing this, but what does that really mean? It means their beautiful goal might be different. For instance, I went to the Dan Brown Masterclass. I took his class, and he's the person who wrote the Da Vinci Code that got really famous for a little while. I don't know if you heard of it, but in his master class, he's like, "I'm going to tell you a secret at the end of this class." And then when we got to the end of the class, he explained that the pressure of having such success with his Da Vinci Code book brought him such anxiety and pressure that he didn't know if he could do it again, that it was crippling. And he didn't even have as much time to write his next book. So what he did was he did kind of what this character did. He created a fake version of his book that had the album art, I mean the book cover art and the thing, and he put it on his bookshelf and he saw it there, completed and finished. I think he even he created like a little article clipping that says top 10 bestsellers, in the world, and his name was right there at the top of the list. Dan Brown with his new thing. And seeing that just really helped him visualize, hey, we can do this. Hey, what I've got's valuable. Hey, this is going to work out. And it helped him begin to connect the dots and lower his stress. Maybe that was his goal of this character over here. He needed to see his name in print. He needed to see that he was the kind of person who could have his name in print and could write a book that was helpful like that if he wanted to. And maybe that was his first step. Maybe that was his first goal. But there's a tale of two different goals. And, it goes to show, how it's not always clear if someone's using AI to assist them, what it is they are using it to assist them for. The goals matter. And so if you're creating goals, there's two types of creation, two ways to iterate towards a goal. One is where you know what the goal is. Like this is an AI generated, soccer player. If my goal is to kick it in the net, where are you going? What are you doing? Oh, you're going to talk to the crowd instead? That's not it. Choose kicking the ball in the net and you keep iterating. That's not it. Choose this until you see the ball go into the net and you're like, that's it. Goal. I did it. That's one kind of iterating that you do with AI in prompt after prompt after prompt. But you're often in this other place where, oh, I'm not sure. Is that the goal? Or maybe the goal is on the back or the side, or maybe there's this other goal that's showing up on this side. There's three different goals. Oh, wait, which team am I on? There's the blue team, the green yellow team, the red team. The lines on the ground are not helping me here. What is the objective? What is the goal? I don't even know. And when you're in that space, it's a place where you choose information. This is what I need to figure out. These are the perspectives I need to talk to. And then you discover stuff. And from there, you have the opportunity to create. Here's what I value amidst all this information and these perspectives. Here are the reasons that I'm going to create to move this way versus that way and what you're trying to do, you know. And then you might be in the same kind of similar thing. That's not it. Well, that's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. Choose this. And you keep going through this until, oh, now I know what my goal is. And it's kind of like now you're on this side. That's not it. Choose this and then go. You reach your place there. Um, this hard choices TED Talk. I'll just reference it just briefly here. But this was a brilliant talk by Ruth Chang about how to make hard choices. I highly recommend it because it's similar to the skills that you need when you're using AI. And you can kind of see the web link here. If you're viewing this recording, you can pause it and maybe find it or search it. But it was a brilliant talk, and her research really supported, how do you find out, what is the best way to make all these decisions and get to what you really want. And brilliant. Just I'll mention that in passing. But here is another big thing that you need to have in your box when you're trying to navigate the model. Lateral thinking. Thinking outside the box, especially when the box doesn't fit. It's like this doesn't take into account tons of stuff, and I'm going round and round in circles with the AI here, and this is just not. You need to start vocalizing what it's not doing for you and think outside the box. And I was trying to get, what text should I put on this screen? And I was thinking, oh, all this text the AI was telling me about. I thought a whole nother way. I'm going to think outside the box. What if I do like a part of a movie script and to describe this concept? And so here it is. AI. Most people say this is the answer that helped them. And you might say, I'm not most people. And the AI is like, most people feel that way. It's like, well, that's not helpful. And then you're like, face palm or whatever. Days later, you show up again. Hey, what if I just did this instead? And suddenly the AI is like, oh, that works too. I'll be glad to help with that. Well, why didn't you offer that solution before? It wasn't the usual way for most people. Sigh. So that's where you need to think outside the box. AI is going to give you what most people would say. Um, but it's all averaged out into what most people would say. If you want to say something that's awesome and super powerful and wonderful and takes people to the next level, understanding something like I hope this little script did that I wrote, you need to you need to bring it. The AI will stay stuck on what you asked it based on what most people think. You have to make the lateral shift to something that's completely different. If you are so upset in this place and you're stuck, I've been stuck for days until I realized, wait a minute, isn't there an alternative way to think about this? What does the contrarian say? Then you can get the AI to help you think about what is the other thing. But until you think to answer it and to think outside the conversation you're in, you can stay stuck in there for days. I have. Um, so know the AI is not good at lateral thinking, and you are serendipitously through random chance encounters, through your mentors, through all the different sources of your experience through life. You know how to, hey, let's think about it this other way and use that skill. So we've got the world's behaviors plus infinite understanding plus beautiful goals plus lateral thinking, and that's where you meet your needs. So let's do the answering the call demo. It might take me a moment to get set up here, but I'm gonna come over to, stop that playing, come over to the UT screen. And I'm going to move it to one side. And on the other side, I am going to pull up my my supporting document to work on here with you. I think it's this one. Oh, here's the answering the call demo right there. And there it is. This is left over from a different time I worked with this. And the last time I did this, my computer froze, and this was kind of the last slide that anyone saw, I think. But here is this document, and this exercise in this demo is the objective is create a guide that helps people change the world using AI. And I'm just going to start and show you what it means. Like, this is a call that I want to answer. And there's all kinds of calls on all kinds of topics, things that matter. That's what guides the process. I hope you've heard me say that a bunch. But here I'm gonna give my opening shot at what this might look like. And if you got it, feel free to fast forward the video, but I'm just going to show you my process to the extent that, the process is long, it's not summarily. I'm actually going to go into the trenches with this particular thing for a little bit, just so you could see. Um, Maybe about 10 minutes or so, but here we go. Okay, so I want to create a guide that helps people change the world using AI. And at the highest level, I think the things that are the most important for people to know um, are that AI is not sentient and that human behavioral data is beautiful and that they are fantastic, absolutely fantastic, because they are not only the source of the data and the representative of the people that this data has come from, but they are the destination that the data was intended for. Those, I think, are the three AI truths that change everything in this sphere. And I would love to be able to communicate that as the core essence and principles of my guide. I've been given a talk about it over and over again, and those are the three things I keep sharing in everything I make, because um, people are scared of AI because they see it in the intelligence metaphor. That's the lens they see it through. And that metaphor is damaging and actually harmful to not only your comfort level with using the technology, but understanding how to use it in a predictable, non chaotic way that enables you to accomplish massive, wonderful things with the data. So, um, take what I've given you here and give me the first draft of this guide. That's the stuff at the really high level, and then we'll see about diving deeper. But give me this as a starting ground uh, for what I might create here. I'm going to turn off the microphone and I'm going to hit send on that. All right, so oh, I forgot I had the dream team selected. You know, it might actually be beneficial to have the dream team. But you can see, even though I had the dream team selected, um, I gave it so much instruction outside of the scope of the dream team that it overrid the model and directed it to what I wanted anyway. And or a version of it. Thank you for sharing your vision. Let me let it read it here.
Thank you for sharing your vision and the core principles you want to communicate. The diversity team has assembled to help you craft a compelling, accessible first draft for your guide. This draft is structured to honor your three AI truths and set a clear, inviting foundation for deeper exploration. Changing the World with AI, a guide to empowered, human-centered innovation. Introduction. The world is buzzing with talk of artificial intelligence, AI, its power, its promise, and its perils. Many imagine AI as alien or even threatening, shaped by science fiction metaphors of intelligence. But to truly unlock AI's world-changing potential, we need a new lens, one that centers humanity, celebrates our data, and clarifies what AI is and isn't. This guide distills three essential truths that can transform how we relate to AI, reduce fear and confusion, and empower you to use these tools to create wonderful change. Three core truths that change everything. 1. AI is not sentient. AI systems do not think or feel. They do not possess consciousness, intentions, or desires. Instead, they are sophisticated pattern recognition tools trained on vast amounts of data created by humans like you. Their outputs reflect patterns in this data, not independent reasoning or will. Understanding this truth removes much of the mystery and fear around AI.
Okay, so you can see these truths are coming through here, and I'm going to briefly maximize. And at any time, you can change to something else. I'm going to change to my custom assistant. I'm not going to start over. I could copy and paste and start over in another window, but I like where we've started here. So I'm using my custom instructions now. And sometimes what I do is what I told you I would do on another page. I'll just read this out loud. And let me just do that a little bit. And so you don't have to hear me comment on it, but just to give you one kind of iterative pass on what we're making here. Okay, so I'm looking at what you wrote here, and I see Changing the World with AI, a guide to empowered human-centered innovation. Um, I'm kind of worried about that introduction. I like the changing the world with AI, but I don't know how people are going to perceive that in the sense that, maybe I'm talking about corporate domination of my company with AI. Am I talking about, I mean, you're clarifying it a little bit in the end with human-centered innovation, but a guide to empowered human-centered innovation. Um, I don't know. It just doesn't have the hook that I hope. And maybe starting with the title would help me figure out what the approach is. Um, Part of me wants to jump to completion and just, accept most of what you said because it does look really reflective of my thoughts. I'm not sure it's in my voice. I've switched to my 4.1 custom instructions in case um, that helps you understand my voice and how I would write it a little bit better. But that opening title, um, it feels like I need a title that is going to call people in. Sometimes when you say changing the world, it's so generic and it doesn't have that uniqueness, that elevated sense of you're going to see something that is worth witnessing right now if you click here, if you read further. I mean, if I wrote something like that was testimonial, like, you know, Martin Luther King said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." AI helped me make that change. That's more testimonial. There might be a clearer way to say that, but it might give people a sense that when they get something, they're going to get something human-centered and empowering. Kind of the show don't tell kind of a way of thinking about it. Um, so maybe just help me start with an approach here because this really matters to me and I want to get it right. So give me maybe a list of titles based on my thinking about how this title could really uh, grab the audience that I think would, benefit from this the most. Okay. So I'm going to send that off. And that's one iteration. And you can see it switch to my custom instructions. Title approaches, hook-driven and human-centered. So here it's giving me a whole bunch of ideas here. Be the difference. Real stories of human-first AI. Beyond the hype, how people use AI to make meaningful change. Like, I feel like that is a massive upgrade, just that one right there compared to what did we have before? Changing the world with AI, a guide to empowered human-centered innovation. Here you can see I brought myself into the mix, the things I care about, the techniques I'm aware of, the things that would matter to me. And I'm getting, better options that I can look through here and start to reflect on, this might be the first thing beyond the hype, how people use AI to make meaningful change. I might even change it to beyond AI hype. AI with heart, inspiring ways people shape tomorrow. Well, I want to be indulgent and go through here and get the best of all of it. But I think you can see how you don't just take what the AI gives you. You put in your value add and you bring it. So like if I said, for the sake of time, that this was my favorite one, and I went over here to answering the call, I said, that that's what I want to be my first and favorite. of this. AI beyond the hype, how people beyond AI hype. So people know what it's about right at the beginning. Beyond AI hype, how people use AI to make meaningful change. I've been showing y'all all that all through here. But just that first line, you can see, oh, I care about this. We're going to make this great. And from there, I would keep going. Um, I'm probably not going to keep going here, but you can see I can copy and paste. And if you have a really long document you're creating, do something like this so you have a known good, like a known save point. Then when you come back over here and AI is, the conversation has gotten so long that, it's starting to forget where you came from and where you're going with, you can say, oh, I'm going to upload the file that I have worked on so far from my from what I've done so far, and then I'll have this answering the call. That's what I've got so far. I'll choose it, and then the AI will load it in and say, and I'll continue. I mean, right now I'll only have the one line, but um, I found a title that I like, and I've started a document that has what I've got so far. Now let's rewrite everything we've done so far with this approach. And now you have access to my custom instructions. Now you have access to this title that I feel like brings the flavor, the tone, and the approach that I want to bring for the article. Let's create a new version of the article first, a second draft that, and I'll work from there because I think that the title itself even sets the tone. And I'm going to send that off. It's going to upload what I have of that document, which can be an ever-growing document if you're doing something really long and involved. And then we get to hear back what it would say. See, it saw answering the call, real stories of human AI first. So it mixed in some of those other things that I've got just for the workshop that's probably confusing what it thinks the title is. But you can see your invitation. Ever feel like AI is just hype? It's already informed by the title and the stuff we've got going on, or maybe a little intimidating. You're not alone. But what if AI wasn't about machines taking over, but rather about you, your choices, your experiences, your humanity being reflected and amplified in new ways? So now I have something closer. And if I want to read this word by word and go through, I'm already in a closer ballpark than I was before. But it's about taking it slow, and you don't want to do that for everything, just the things that really matter, where you're answering the call of your personal values and you want to put forward your best work. So I think you got the idea there. For the sake of time, I'm gonna move on. But that was the answering the call demo. And for Q&A, I encourage you to go out to the Viva Engage website for the AI lab. Let me just, for the sake of this, since this isn't live, this is recorded, let me just show you where that is. It looks like this. And I encourage you, the video you're watching, I'm planning to post it right here. Feel free to have conversations here, or you can reach out to me via email. There's lots of supporting files over here. I'll show that. But that's a terrible link to copy and paste. But you could also go to https while I'm thinking about it. Tiny.utk.edu AI lab. And I'll pause there just for a second. You can pause and grab that. That's a way you can get straight here if you want to navigate to a discussion, because there's lots of Q&A to be had about co-authoring and iterating through materials that matter. Okay. May your ability to build what matters level up in quantity and in quality. All right, on to the next thing. You're not alone, dear one. There are others, so much like you it might make your heart ache, who felt what you felt, carried what you carry, and found words for it here. And when you open yourself, they answer. So, on one hand, you can see why people consider therapeutic use of AI controversial. And on another hand, you can see, based on everything we've been through in this course, how using the technology is kind of therapeutic all along the way. And if we were to gather around a campfire to have this discussion, is AI therapeutic? My non-expert, I'm not a therapist. I don't have training in that area. My non-expert answer leans to yes for two reasons. AI says kind, helpful things to you in first person all the time. You know, you're being exposed to human behaviors, and that's therapeutic, even if you aren't getting a heavy dose of co-regulation from a live person. You know, I watched a YouTube video where a therapist gave her take on AI, and she said some of the therapists are like, I think that's all I do when I'm a therapist is I co-regulate for my clients, which means, you know, you let them borrow your nervous system to think about things in a calm and engaging way where you don't, you know, over dramatize, and they depend on you for that stability because they help co-regulate your nervous system. And you know, AI is not going to do that well, but it's going to say things that humans would say, and that affects you psychologically, and it can affect you therapeutically if you have those beautiful goals in place that keep it safe and productive. But secondly, AI gets you thinking outside of yourself. I watched uh, a Mark Manson video where he was talking about all the different kinds of therapy. And one of the things they all have in common, according to him, was metacognition. That's that way of thinking outside yourself about what you're doing. And lots of things that are therapeutic tend to do just that. So even like doing a journal entry, you're thinking about, oh, my day, how it went and stuff, and you're not in it thinking as you're realizing, oh, even when you talk to another person about what you're experiencing, you get to see it from an outside perspective. And AI, it offers a ton of metacognitive activities. If you're journaling, if you're doing reflections, if you're trying to think about what you've experienced recently, all of that stuff is powerfully therapeutic. So I mentioned just a second ago, having a beautiful goal, that's what makes it safe. You know, we talked about all those harmful ways we could use AI, and really everything I've shared up to here, you know, therapy is just one thing you could use AI for. I've unlocked it, hopefully for you, that you can use AI for everything now without a special prompt or a special skill set. You have the skill set. And if you use the things even I've told you through here, and you wanted to get something that was about your well being, Let your goal be about something that contributes to your well-being and the well-being of those around you. Then you will bring out the best in yourself, the best in AI, and the best in the world. There are so many places for this to go awry. And, people tend to think, oh, when you talk to ChatGPT, it sounds like this. When you talk to Grok, it sounds like this. When you talk to Gemini, it sounds like this. When you talk to the meta models, it sounds like that. But in this masterclass, I've given you, hey, you get to decide how any model talks to you because you're navigating human behavioral data. You're not subject to what an AI does and where an AI takes you. You get to say, this is where I want to go. I want to go to a place with a beautiful goal of well-being for me and the people around me. And that's the thing that makes all the difference in therapy. And I mentioned it earlier, and I thought about having a slide just for this. But let me just see if I can show this paper I have here. I don't know if you can see it that well, but like AI is aligned to what's popular. By default, you're at the top of this branching tree. But if you want to talk about what's specific to you, the more and more details, the more vocabulary and social skills you bring to the table, the more and more you make decisions that will get down to, oh, this is where I am. This is this is this is the help I specifically need. And I have the self advocacy to get to that place. Um, this process, the AI term for it is called alignment. You're taking this raw data, this human behavioral data, this word prediction model, and you're aligning it to something that this is where I am. This place is where is going to be the help I need. And if you do this really well and you align the model, and this takes work, it's not easy, you could stay right here and get all kinds of bad advice that doesn't apply to you. Maybe it applies to most people, but not you in your case. But the farther you go down in the tree, the farther you get to something specific for you, where you can team up with the people who've experienced things like you've experienced them and have expertise in this area and this topic and this problem solving arena. And if you get what you need, you'll grow, you'll change, and this will no longer be in alignment with what you need. You'll move along and you'll need something else over here or something like that. So I was going to create a slide to explain that, but I think you can see why that screen about losing your job, about, therapy is, you know, identifying a need, and your job is to meet it. And so, like in this thing, you identify this is the specific thing I need, and then if your goal, your beautiful goal is protecting you to move forward in a positive way, you'll grow from there. And this takes work, and people will need help figuring out how to align. They won't know about nonviolent communication. They won't know about, all these abstract therapeutic things you can do, the value of a ritual, the value of being seen and witnessed, and the value of gratitude and alignment. They won't know the ingredients they need to navigate this tree to get what they want necessarily. And people will always need help with that. I mean, maybe they'll get better and better, and people will be able to do most of this work on their own. But right now, people still need help with this kind of stuff. Just like you need help figuring out which medication would be best for you, or which technique might help you with your lifestyle or whatever. So, and I put here, the thing is, happy families, the Leo Tolstoy quote, happy families are all the same. Well, this isn't an exact quote, it's an approximation. Happy families are all the same, but unhappy families are each unhappy in their own unique way. There are patterns of what works and what contributes to well-being, but then there are just specific places we find ourselves in that are tangled and toxic and problematic, and can leave us depressed and anxiety and those kind of things. And untangling those is about what that alignment is about. So I hope I haven't stressed you out on the therapy thing. That's optional. You don't have to do therapy. Although I think, you have the whole world now supporting you with everything with infinite understanding, and that's going to affect, in a powerful way the rest of your life, really. And the rest of your lives of the people that you know and the next generation. Uh, so AI is going to be in the discussion for therapy, and I hope I've given you the ways to make it constructive. So let's recap. We've gone a lot of places today, but I hope this slide that we saw before is has a whole new meaning to you now that you've been through this workshop. The foundations of human-centered AI. We talked about goals that matter, beautiful goals. We talked about self-advocacy, being able to go to the places in the models where you ask and you advocate for what you need and you differentiate it from what most people need. We talked about that and we practiced the skill of having messy, courageous conversations where you act like yourself to see how people would respond most probabilistically. And you show up and share what matters, and you get back something that is, has been meaningful to other people along those lines. It all comes from that layer of recognizing that AI is built from humanity's shared words and actions. And we talked about curating conversation spaces. You assemble fictional experts, group voices, or assistants shaped to your needs. You've got a better idea of how that looks like and what that's like now. You naturally use your language to act. And we talked about using lateral thinking, this idea that if you're not getting what you want out of AI, move to the part of the data inside AI where you are. That is such powerful tool, and that is the place where you have a fruitful, effective, ethical use of it. All right. Well, so in closing, dear friend, may a world of friends answer you when you call. May infinite understanding bless you and all in your care. May the ready help of all those who came before give you comfort. May love be the destiny of every enemy. And when you hear the call of need, may you find the strength to respond. Infinite growth, healing, peace, love, and joy be yours. Thank you all for joining me on this journey. I hope it has been powerful and wonderful and helps you uh, for all the rest of your life and all things AI and every challenge you face and every call you answer. So take care and thank you all. Bye.